There's a song about this. Guess who's back? Back again. We go in laughing, ladies and gentlemen. We're live, the Metal Lab, episode 107, the Obligatory year in review show, with 3/4 of the lab techs. We'll get some of Mike's input on it next week, though, because we probably won't have much to talk about next week. But that said, welcome back to the Metal Lab with Jason hosting. Though this will be, if you've watched my recent AMA announcement, probably one of the last ones you'll see me hosting for a long time because, changes in my career. It's all very good news. If you want to check out that video, please do so because I talk a lot about my future and what's going to go happen with the channel. I'm going to be moving to a part-time role, blah, 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 blah. If you have any more questions for that, by all means, email us, marriedwithclicks@gmail.com, or message our site, our Facebook at facebook.com/marriedwithclicks. But on that note, Metal Lab time. Let's focus on that. And I'm joined this week by Tom.
Good evening, everyone. Or
Very
whatever time it is you're watching.
I love it. And Jay.
I love the list episode.
Hello.
All right. And of course, as every week, we are brought to you in part by MajesticCCG.com. Check them out for the Apex Insiders at MajesticCCG.com/Apex-Insiders. $3 a month to get information from some of the greatest minds in the game. Some of us are taking a little bit of our time because it is holiday season. I promised Pat an article on Monday, and that was last Monday, but my computer broke, so that's my excuse. But that said, you'll get articles from some really great minds in the game of Heroclix, as well as some updates. You'll be first to find out about rock events and major WizKids events from Majestic's site, and that's without the $3 subscription fee. So check it out, MajesticCCG.com. Become an Apex Insider for more information on some of the greats of the game. As well, we're brought to you in part by HCRealms.com, your one-stop source for everything HeroClix. Check out the forums section, find out what's happening in the game. Use the unit section to track your collection, build your teams. Check out the news. Check out news on your local rock events in the rock section, and of course, check out the shop for some cool Clicks gear. And while you're doing that, put in the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off your purchase as a little bit of a kickback to the channel. So let's go with our weekend review. Tom, how has your week been?
It's been good. It has been another week without Heroclix, as tends to kind of happen sometimes around these parts. But it's been very Christmassy, and we had a chance to have our big celebration holiday party up in North York last week, and I got to see my parents and put up a tree and do all kinds of cool little things. So nothing that relates to the general good times that is this particular show. But if you're really interested in my life, and if you're listening to this, I think you are, then that's what it entailed. How was yours, Jay?
Holiday-wise, Hanukkah party with my girlfriend's family, which was nice. Clicks-wise, local tournament last week, which was 401 games, 500 points, basically no restrictions, and I ended up winning that tournament. Playing what was technically a mystical theme team, but it was very JSA with Casey Spectre at full points, Casey Green Lantern at lower points for the Perplex, Casey Shazam, Jakeem, Pandora's Box, basically to get Jakeem willpower and running shot on Spectre, and then the Hawkman ID card. So that was pretty good, although the only time I called Hawkman in, he crit missed twice in a row, and that was very nice.
You have terrible luck with that Hawkman. You keep wanting that Hawkman to work.
This was actually Trinity War, who I called in because of the close combat expert.
Oh.
I tried, and he just did not want to do things for me. But he ended up winning that tournament, and that was a good time. Jakeem was really good, obviously.
Yeah, others have noted that. Yes, that's true.
Are people using him? Is he a good figure? I know.
I might have to write a fringe article about him if this continues.
All right. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to. All right.
That was it, yeah.
Okay, that's me. All right, so I got 2 weeks in review because only one of those weeks involves Heroclix. Of course, I also didn't share this episode on Facebook, so the 4 viewers who are here right now are getting the regular notifications from YouTube, so I apologize for that. Live here. Look at that. I take a week off, and this is what happens to me, right?
Yep, you lose your touch.
I totally lost my touch. But on that note, we did have a recent Heroclix tournament at the Comic Warehouse down in Brampton. Very, very fun tournament. A little restrictive in the build because you were required to have half your team consist of certain villain team abilities. There was a list of specifically villain team abilities, and half your team had to have that. So almost everybody brought that Batman enemy team ability, and almost everybody brought Lex Luthor, Joker, including myself, to that event. But it was my first chance to actually give them a try. I've had the figure for a while, give it a good go-ahead, and my team was doing pretty fantastic until everybody was allowed to roll shape change against me. And you want to hear a really weird statistic? This is a Jason statistic, ladies and gentlemen. This is not mathematics. 10 shape change rolls were made against me.
Woo!
2 failed. So, and all you can do is just go, well, all right, I can't do anything. I played it the best I could, and I didn't bring Battle Fury, or I didn't bring like my usual stuff that I would bring to not deal with these things. I had to deal with them, so that's life. I ended up going 1-2 in that tournament. It's just, I think by the last shape change roll somebody made against me, I just yelled at the ceiling like, "Everybody, stop shape changing against me!" Oh man, what can you do? I had a lot of fun. Still, my team was really cool. It was Joker Lex, Joker's daughter. What else was on my team? I know those 2 things were the highlights of my team. That's why that's all I remember. Oh, I had 2 Joker's thugs and an Owlman from the Fast Forces. So I was using my mastermind from that one to pop off Joker's thugs. Let me tell you, you should see the look on people's face when you go, "I'm going to mastermind to that Joker's thug who's 4 squares away." You can do that? Yes, I can. Nice. So I just pulled it off from like 4. Oh, and I had a Bane on my team too. Wow! Yeah. That's all I got to say about Bane.
That's a lot of life there.
I knew he was cool. I just, he's great for masterminding too, as well, because he's got that thick dial. But that said, I've had a bunch of fun, a little bit of clicks in my life with all this wackiness going on in my life. And there's not much in the news. There's one thing to cover, and I'll briefly cover it. It was on the Heroclix website. They've given us official pictures. Oh, there's another thing that I'll briefly mention too, but we've got our pictures of up close of the convention exclusives. So in the Marvel end, we've got the Earth X Captain America, who's probably going to have something cool, because if you actually look at these blurbs, they'll give you a rough idea of what's going to be happening with their powers, kind of a quick, hey, there's going to be something going on. So there's going to be some kind of awesome leadership and some kind of anti-mind control, in this case probably.
That makes good sense.
Samurai Spider-Gwen, who's got a super sword-swinging chop. Might have something to do with Blade's Claws, might have something to do with Exploit Weakness, but that's pretty much a given. And we have the Giant Man with the Pym Particle Tank, which comes with, of course, a small tank and a big tank, and this big dude carrying a big thing. And, of course, it mentions briefly that the Pym Pocket Tank keychain, you can turn that into a full-size Pym Particle Tank.
Nice.
We all saw
you notice that it has the dial on the tank?
I did notice it's got a dial on the tank. I'm super hyped for this. Then we have the Spirit of Vengeance Red Hulk, who does, all kinds of neat stuff. We only have one DC exclusive, but of course it's a generic figure in the Batman Bat Knight, so hopefully they don't make a mistake and make these unique, because that will give DC fans something to strive for, as many Bat Knights as they can get their hands on. And then, for my little happiness, we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Pizza Face, and this is from the 2002 animated series. This is probably going to have some kind of effect very similar to Starro. Those of you who watch the animated show, people ate his pizza, then they got mind controlled by him, and then they had pizzas on their faces. So it was a big joke on Starro. Like, everything about it was a joke on Starro, and I just hope they keep to that theming of it, because it was hilarious. I think even in the episode, they make a Spaceballs reference where Michelangelo does this thing like they do in The Flash, where he tries to name the villains, and yes, Spaceball reference, he tried to call it Pizza the Hut.
Awesome.
So, that said, what do you guys think, and what are you most excited for, these con exclusives, Tom?
Definitely Earth X Captain America, but that's partly just because of the fact that I'm really excited for Earth X in general. Anything that we can get from that would be wonderful, because I really like that. And we've talked before about what would be our ideal chase theme, and I think that both Jay and I said Earth X because we're in complete agreement about the fact that Earth X is just the best. So I am excited for that, but I have to say I'm pretty excited for a tank too. I still remember all the nonsense of haunted tanks and military tanks and all that stuff, and I like the idea of rolling across the field in the tank. I was never a big fan of the fact that the cop car can take more damage than anyone this side of Galactus or the Joker. But the tank, I can get behind that.
All right. Jay?
I also enjoy playing Captain America's new Heroclix. That should hopefully be something that is good.
Mm-hmm.
Good and fun. Although it's concerning to see such a main Earth X character as an exclusive, implying that we might not get something in the What If sets.
Yeah, you never know. Or maybe it's just that he'll work really well with the ones from the What If set and make you all the more excited to try to get your hands on him or something.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to the Bat Knight also. I think it was unique because they showed that Instagram picture. I think it might be unique. But I'm hoping that it does something to be more generic-y.
They're certainly often
like the Toy Soldier.
Are you most excited for the Pizza the Hut there, Jason?
Boy, am I ever! You guys have got to watch this series. It's actually pretty good. Like, the 2011 animated Ninja Turtles animated series is actually really good, and I think it's very easy to dodge because it's made by Nickelodeon. But I think because they do a lot of service to the comic, like they really follow a lot of things and get a lot of things from the comic and kind of make it their own to a certain degree too. I think the biggest change that might irk some, but still shouldn't irk them enough, would be the Krang went from a Krang to a race of Krangs that speak in this weird, like, well, I mean, it's a weird thing where it's like many small ones talk like weird, and then there's a couple of them that talk in normal sentencing. Might throw some people off at first, but they get right into it with the Krang, and then they become a race, and then they actually kind of hold off on Shredder. Then they really use the Karai story and kind of change it to their own thing, but make it add a little bit more drama to it as well. So it's its own thing, and I think it's really cool. And that said, yes, I am looking forward to this particular Pizza Face. And as well, I've also just finished the IDW run of Ninja Turtles. Also amazing. Also looking at how many things that could still be Heroclix that haven't been clicked yet from that. Oh boy. Boy, is there a lot of room to work.
Yeah, it's good that it's a property that's got those kind of legs, because obviously it's selling well, so no reason for them to stop now.
I mean, and even if it wasn't selling well, I'll buy more. Honestly, we have a store, our local store. I even cleaned them out of a Gravity Feed almost single-handedly of individual figures trying to find a Karai and a Rennet Tilly. Anybody looking for Michelangelo? All right. On that note, though, as you can tell by the title, it is the obligatory year in review show, which means there's a lot of lists to be had, and we look back on the year 2016 in Heroclix. And I first want to say that we've all been complaining on social media that 2016 is one of the worst years in the world. And then you get into our Heroclix year, and we've had a great year of Heroclix here on the Metal Lab. Let's not kid ourselves. All of us as players have really grown through 2016. We've become a lot better, come into our own, gone to a lot more tournaments. The show has come a long way as well. And what we've got from the game of Heroclix, I think, is really good. So we're going to talk about our highlights and our less than high as that lights as we go through our year in review. Now, what we're going to do, normally we do our lists and then move on to the next person. This year we're going to try to keep it a little even, and we're going to give our lists in order with each other. So I'm going to give my 5th place. Tom and Jay will give their 5th place, and then I'll let one of the other guys start with their portion of the list, and we'll move from there. I'll call out your names as we go. You guys know how this goes.
I do.
But I do want to start with any honorable mentions that we have on our list, because sometimes some figures are pretty good, pretty awesome, and some of them just, at the same time, don't make your list. So we'll go over our honorable mentions first. And my personal, I have 2. This is what I do at work now. My honorable mentions. 2 of them, I really wanted them to make the list, but I've never used them in competitive play. And even though I try to, they do end up just kind of getting tossed aside for something better. And they are Ms. Yermala and Sunfire. I love Ms. Yermala as a character and a figure. He's great, but I can't get him onto teams. And Sunfire's another one. I can never seem to squeeze him in the right place at the right time. And even though he's only 50 points with Running Shot and Pulse Wave and flies, it never happens for him. And maybe next year, maybe something will come up after cuts, or who knows. I'm hoping to get some life out of him soon. Tom, do you have any honorable mentions?
Well, I'll go with 2 as well. One of them was definitely not going to make the top was in the top 5, but it would have made the top 10 if we'd gone that far. And that's Rocket and Groot. I've never actually used Rocket and Groot duo. I just think that they're absolutely fantastic, and so not at all. I would like to. I would like to speak to their goodness, but I'm sure I won't be the only one that does so. So suffice to say, they aren't going to make my top 5, but I still think they're super cool. But because I don't own one yet, then and the other one I'm going to mention really should, if it were certainly the pieces that have been most effective for me, then it would arguably be at number 1. But it just barely skirts out of the top 5 as well, and that's Jean Grey from the Fast Forces. So useful that I almost can't imagine building a team without her. Super effective. What more can I say about the fact that she can do a free TK, then a power action TK, then she's got willpower to TK again, then she clears and just repeats the whole cycle. Or if you're never giving her action tokens, she just sits back and free TKs away at the life. I mean, admittedly, she's a one-trick pony, but what a trick. So she's fantastic. She just barely skirts outside the top 5. Those are my honorable mentions.
Jay.
I was going to say Rocket and Groot is one of mine, but apparently I got one up.
It can be one of yours. We don't.
It's so hard to be an honorable mention. It's just not on your top 5. And who knows, our top 5 might interlace or not.
As Tom mentioned, I kind of did one up him with the Earth X thing a while ago.
That's true.
I was owed one.
Yeah, you got it back. Or I got it back.
I was going to, okay. Honorable mention number 1, who I actually did try and use competitively, would have to be the Wizard. Just because he's so good for the points, and he has that little trick that nobody else really does, and the insult on top of injury of the Tigers is just so good, and I love him. And the Monster Society ATA on top of it is just so useful. Honorable mention number 2 is the Ellie Ray Palmer Adam, who was probably, before he got made, my most hoped for remake. And then he also came out with an ID card that just is expensive, but doesn't really work well with him. So that's kind of a tragic little thing. And I'm happy with how he turned out. He's not overpowered or whatever, and he is not really competitively useful, but he's not useful either. And I think I did build one of the OP kit teams with him, or I think that was the week we had to. Regardless, he's a fun little figure, and although he's not competitive, he still deserves honorable mention because he's cool.
Right. Neat. Sorry, I had to turn my camera off because I don't think you wanted to see my stomach as I am reaching for a pen. All right. So we get into list country. And I'm going to go first because I cheated on number 5 and number 1.
Okay.
They're actually shared slots.
You cheater.
The reason I took shared slots these particular figures is because every time I choose one of these figures, the other one comes with them, and I almost consider them linked at the dial. So, without further ado, my number 5 is the combination of the Chase Raphael from TMNT1 and the Chase Michelangelo, also from TMNT1. Now, the reason, of course, is that both of them have Flurry. Both of them together get Impervious traded when they're next to each other. As well, Raphael, when he uses his Flurry, does penetrating damage, and Michelangelo, when he uses his Flurry, adds action tokens when he hits. Now, if you time your attacks correctly with both of them, and they also come with charge along with this Flurry to add on to it. I believe Raphael starts with Empower. One of the two starts with Empower, and I believe it's Raphael. But I could be wrong on this one. I think it's flip-flopped on the common ones. This is what makes it a little wacky. Yeah, Raphael starts with Empower. Which means that I can attack with Michelangelo twice for 3 damage each attack, which becomes 4 with the Empower, if I have them next to each other, of course, which is the ideal situation. And I'm adding the action tokens. And Raphael is able to do the cleanup. In addition to which, after they make their attacks, they can move 2 more squares and attack another target that they haven't attacked before. So each one is capable of doing 3 attacks. It's a total of 9 attacks from 2 figures, and it costs me 150 points. And they have basically traded Impervious when I use them. And, keeping in their keyword, they have the Turtle Band to move them. They just got another figure to move them that I'm going to talk about later on my list. Suffice to say, I really like the combination of the two of them together. But I haven't physically used them in competitive play enough for me to put them on the top of my list. So they are 5th place on my list. All right. Tom, what would you put at 5th place on your list?
Well, I mean, a word about my lists, both my top 5 and bottom 5, after much hair pulling and due consideration. I've come up with a list of my top 5 and my bottom 5, but I also felt that they're each winners in their own right in some sense, or whether that be an honorable or dishonorable sense, as we will soon see as we go to the worst. But so I've given each of them a special award of their own because they're all front runners in their own category. So my number 5 for the year, and the person who takes the Distinguished Debut Award for excellence in the field of being a piece that appears in Heroclix for the first time and is one that I've been excited for, and they get it right, is Speed Freak from the Civil War OP set. Amazingly enough, something from that set manages to make my top 5. But Speed Freak, I think, is just a wonderful piece. Because I'm a big fan of Peter David's long run on the Hulk in the 90s and the 2000s, then there are a lot of characters from that run that we've never seen in Heroclix before. And I always thought Speed Freak would be cool. You know, he's super fast with his adamantium blades and stuff, swinging around, cutting people up. He seemed like a cool piece, and they really nailed it. His short dial feels comic accurate, but I also don't mind the fact that it's a short dial because he starts out with an 18D with Invincible, which means that unless you're dealing with 8, not getting through all that dial in one shot. Now, of course, he can be outwitted, but a great defense against outwit is the fact that he's got hypersonic. You can use positioning to your advantage. He's ignoring elevated terrain when he moves, so he's got that extra little bit of ability to get around. And I love the fact that he brings with him precision strike to get around most defenses and a little possible return of Killbox. I have designed a couple teams that didn't really work too well, but I haven't been able to make it work very well as a Killbox thing, but we haven't seen that since the so-called Ben Crawler of past. That was an overpowered piece and kind of wasn't a favorite of mine, but Speed Freak is more balanced, he's interesting, and he's also cheap enough that you can build the rest of the team to be able to take advantage of that Killbox trait if he's able to take advantage of it. So I think that Speed Freak is a piece that I was not sure we'd ever see in Heroclix, and I was even more certain that by the time we did see him, it would be something lackluster and uninteresting, and it was none of the above. It's a really fun, really interesting piece, and I'm glad to add it to my collection. So my number 5, and the winner of the Distinguished Debut Award, Speed Freak.
All right. Jay, you're number 5.
Number 5 is a figure that is versatile, deadly, annoying, tactically fantastic, and so many other things, and that is Element Man. With his pick a power to be both offensive, team-friendly, defensive, or offensive without rolling dice, as well as being irritating with his plasticity and outsiders. He just does everything. And can also give himself all 3 rollouts all on his own, just being the biggest menace that you can ever have to deal with in this game. So he is absolutely number 5, and he deserves it. I think he was 3rd on a team at our provincials this year, and I also tried to use him in limited. Was not successful, but he is quite something.
All right, awesome. All right, so those are your number 5s. We enter into the top 4 country. Number 4, I'm going to let Tom take the lead on this one.
Alrighty. Well, my number 4 is the winner of the Comic Accurate Award. This is a piece that both I really enjoy. I enjoy playing with. I think he's effective, and I've used him effectively before. But I also love the fact that whenever I play him, he feels just like his character in the comics. And that although this is the Meta Lab, we tend to focus on the competitive play. There's also, comic books are what got us in the door here, guys, in a lot of cases. And it's great whenever you're sitting down at the table in front of the map and you've got a piece that you're moving around and smashing up people with, and it feels just like a page out of the comic book. And for me, none do that better than the Uncommon Juggernaut from the Uncanny X-Men set. Really a highly underrated piece. I mean, he is very vulnerable to outwit, so that can hurt his ability to be used competitively at his pretty hefty point cost. I think you've got to build creatively around him. But that being said, he certainly in Sealed he was a great figure for me and for a lot of people, and I think he's got legs beyond that. And anyway, he's the winner of the Comic Accurate Award, and that is because they really made the helmet mechanic work well. I love the fact that they've got almost a little mini game around trying to get that helmet off him so that you can mind control him or psychic blast him or whatnot. Because without that, you've got to deal with some heavy, heavy damage reduction. And in addition to that, he's got a decent dial length, he's got constant sidestep, and he has the traded ability, the so-called out-of-the-way power, where he can choose to go in a straight line, smashing through everything in front of him and attacking everybody that he runs over. And that's very Juggernaut. I mean, what more do you want? He smashes through absolutely everything in front of him and tramples whoever's in front of him because nothing stops the Juggernaut. He's got sidestep to help him position perfectly to be able to do it, so he's a good piece of dial design in terms of effectiveness on the battlefield. And when it comes to just feeling like a page out of the comic book come to life in front of you, I can't think of anyone this year that did it better. So that's my number 4, the Juggernaut.
All right. Jay.
I think this next piece is going to be on basically everybody's list. The only reason that he is solo on mine is because the characters that are higher than him are just characters that I love. And number 4 is a great character designed by great people and from a great storyline. That is Devil Dinosaur.
Yes, sir.
Competitive, very fun, just makes himself impossible to kill. So he's not a character you can just one shot, and just has so many things going with him, both for fun, competitively, and comic-wise. So he's a very solid number 4.
All right. Awesome.
Great.
Myself, for my number 4, if I'm going to follow Tom's trend of naming my awards, my 4th place is the Uber Award. The best taxi, as it were. And I like to nominate Miss Renee Tilley, or Renee Tilley, from TMNT 2.
Hard to argue that.
The fact that she comes with the ability to carry 4 characters, with phasing, with a huge movement, gets yourself across the board there. She comes with probability control on top of that. What more could you ask out of a character who's bringing your characters into the fire, right? It's definitely an improvement on the first set's Renee Tilley. That goes without a shadow of a doubt, without saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm hard-pressed not to be building with this figure in the limited format. And I've also come up with a couple teams even outside of Limited with her. Really like her. I'm glad I finally have my hands on the figure, to say the least. All right. So we had number 3, Jay. Start with your number 3, sir.
Number 3 is one of the figures on the list that has been around the longest this year. And he's also a very nice throwback to an extremely old version of himself, and that is Casey Green Lantern.
Nice work.
He's one of my favorite characters in the Justice Society, and they are my favorite team. And the only reason that he's this low on the list is because the way the comic was, he wasn't really in the Justice Society, so basing his dial around being the best Justice Society defense share is not really accurate, so he suffers a little bit in my ranking. But still, I actually also almost prefer him at his lower points, just be able to, with the cheap barrier, and be able to perplex KCs, but his higher points is, of course, and why he was so sought after. So he will make my number 3.
All right, awesome. My number 3, and I'm Tom, I'm sticking with it because I like your little thing here. And it's, thanks for letting me use my favorite award. We got a second TMNT set, as we talked about with Renee Tilley, and there's been a problem with one of the Ninja Turtles, and it's my favorite Ninja Turtle, and it's Donatello. They haven't really made one that I was like, yeah, I gotta use this. And then they dug back into the past and a little bit into the future if you watch the Back to the Sewers series, where there's these comic book alternate universe versions of the Ninja Turtles. By comic book, I mean superhero versions. And my favorite Ninja Turtle is Donatello, and his superhero version was Shelectro. And I've already recently started building teams with Shelectro, and I'm really excited to get some use out of this guy. In fact, we have a tournament on the 22nd, a very unique format, which is a 200-point... It's even for a win-a-map event, which is exciting, but it's 200 minutes, half an hour to play. I managed to build a TMNT theme team with that. And I got all 4 turtles represented on that. And Shelectro was one of the first ones where I said, I have to use a Donatello if I'm going to be using a Raphael and a Michelangelo. And if I'm forcing myself to use a Leonardo, it's got to be a good Donatello. I hate Leo. Not popular opinion, I know, but the dollar store has lots of Leos around here if you want to go grab some.
Wow, Leo's great. You're wrong. Love Leo.
Yeah. But that said, Shelectro makes my number 3. What was the theme going here with... I
was about to say, for those keeping track at home, 60% of Jason's top 5 so far have all been from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 sets. Will that go up to 80%? Stay tuned.
Who knows? Right.
But I'm going to go to my number 3, and my number 3 wins the award of a chase worth chasing, which is probably fairly self-explanatory, but it would be the best of the chases this year, and I'm going to be really original and choose the Alan Scott Green Lantern KC from the World's Finest set. Thanks for sniping that one too, Jay. But no, it's not really. It's not sniping when it deserves to be near the top of our list of the best figures of the game. For everything that Jay said, such a wonderful piece, and he's everything you want in a chase. When you want, like, I've never been the chase model. I've always been kind of wishy-washy on, because by and large, if you're trying to get chases through buying, then good luck. You're gonna have to buy your life away in blind. If you're gonna try to get it through the secondary market, then you're gonna pay exorbitant costs. And since that money doesn't really find its way back to WizKids, then I'm not sure how much of a moneymaker it is. And if you're getting it through trading, then that's awesome. But it's hard with chases because there aren't that many of them to go around. So they can be hard to get your hands on one. So you really, it's nice when you get one for it to both be something that you really love and yet something you could live without if you want to. We've seen other Alan Scotts, and we've seen other Green Lanterns. I could live without this piece, but first of all, he looks so good. He might be the best sculpt of the year, and I like that. When you get a chase with the most beautiful sculpt, that really makes it feel like that extra little bit of punch, a nice thing for holding him. Also, he can be both the tent pole of the team, or he can be support on the team, thanks to that wonderful, isolated from this violent world or whatever it is trait. So he's got 2 different usages. Obviously, he's got that amazing defense that he can share out. But even if he's not doing that, he still can help out your team with TK. He's a good figure in his own right. And he's a great character from a great storyline. And it's just so fun to just imagine him sitting there looking unimpressed as people try to hit his 20 defense and fail. He's a great piece, and I was super happy that I did pull him. And he makes my number 3. That is KC Green Lantern, just like Jay said.
Fantastic. All right. So we're in number 2s.
Back to you, sir.
That's right. And my number 2, Jay was right. Some of us were going to put him a little higher on our lists. And, I mean, how can you ask for more than a figure who's much like another member of our show here? And he beat me to it, but I did it differently, and we each did it to our own accord. I've had a great year with this figure. Almost as much success as I've had with the Quinjet. And that is the Devil Dinosaur. A shadow of a doubt, a figure that was basically made for me. He's not a swarm, but he is a swarm. He's 100 points. He's 4 characters at a time, up to God knows how many more. And with a little help from another champ figure this year, he helped me do a lot of damage in some competitive play. And I was really, it's one of those things. It's very rare that you can actually manage to combine as much fun as that figure is with as much competitive play as this figure can bring. And that's why I really, really do like him. But he isn't number 1 for another reason that I'm going to discuss later. Because as much as I like him, I wasn't as excited as I started coming up with ideas for the next one. But, rocked me like a dinosaur. Nice. is why he gets number 2. Tom?
Well, I don't have a really snappy name for the category that I have for my number 2, so I've just called it, rather lamely, the Most Fun to Build With Award, because it absolutely, in my opinion, there's no piece that has come out this year that has given me more pleasure just whipping together crazy team ideas just to see what will happen with them, and that is the Prime Night Lantern from World's Finest. I love that piece. Ever since I first saw him, I thought, this is the piece for me. Turn absolutely any other piece in the game into a possessor. Get an extra little bit of power to bump up that little missing element on another piece that you've got. He's well made. He's balanced. He's not broken the game, but absolutely, I've seen him play on some competitive teams. Certainly, when we did a 400-point event in Michigan, he was on several teams there doing some really good heavy lifting. He's also well designed to be half of a 300-point team with somebody else with him. What I mean by that is that he's got a combination that normally I don't find works so well, but works really well in his case, which is TK and Hypersonic. He can send his ally in, or he can be the one that gets sent in. And that particular combination works really nicely for him. Along with leadership to pull tokens off, he's got a decent length of dial, and of course what he does is something that no other piece in the game does, and I think that it's super fun. There are a never-ending myriad of possibilities, both on the fun end of the spectrum, creating cool little portmanteau names of mashing your superheroes together to see what you come up with, all the way up to trying to create sort of competitive, viable options by taking that little extra thing. You think that the only thing missing on your Nick Fury is movement attack? Now you can give a movement attack. You think the only thing missing on a piece is the fact that they're not defensive enough? For 50 points, anyone can have front dial invincible these days. So Light Lantern is a lot of fun to build with, and he opens so many doors, both on the competitive and fun end of the game that I just couldn't keep him off the list. He's number 2.
All right. And Jay?
Your mention of infinite possibilities segues nicely into my number 2, which is this little guy. He is a frightening child. I remember when the set was getting spoiled, and I saw that Johnny Thunder was 53A, and I thought, a super rare prime of a character that can literally wish for anything they want. That is totally going to be meta. It can't not be. And that's what happened. He just... character, I feel like they made his actual dial pretty good with really good stats all the way through, good powers, being team-friendly, both with his options of what to pick if he has to clear to help other people out, and the JSA team ability, as well as being a flyer. And he's just so good while also balanced to not be a totally ridiculous pick a power character. And I remember Jason mentioning in something else in your Metafix about him that he's not a brainless figure. You do have to know what you're doing. You can't just play him and expect to win. He is a smarter figure, which for a lot of the characters and kind of things that came out this year, I felt like that was a very present thing of not just autoplay characters. So he sums that up very nicely for me, and he is number 2.
All right. Awesome. All right, so here we go. Our number ones. Tom, you get the lead on the number 1 figure of 2016 in the opinion of Mr. Tom Kerr.
In the opinion of Mr. Tom Kerr, the number 1 figure, and again, maybe not the most creative name, but this, I can't really say anything except this is the winner of the award for the best piece of 2016. Say it with me, everybody, because you've already said it already. It's Devil Dinosaur. Where to start? You nailed it. How often is one of the most competitive pieces also one of the most fun? One of the most charismatic? I mean, there aren't too many pieces out there that I can really call charismatic. That's not a word that normally comes up when you're talking about little pieces of plastic. But between all the clever names of all the powers, his great little dial design, the hilarious little pogs that he creates, and I love the fact that he feels right. The villainous monologue ability to just shrug off hits as he's going across isn't just a competitive thing to make him hard to take down. It just is awesome to imagine him just standing there blabbing away while people are shooting away at him, and he's gradually moving up the field. And then when he does become angry, then he becomes a terror on the field. You guys have already spoken of him, so I don't have to go on about him at length. But honestly, I hate to come back to the same point that I've already made and Jason's made already, but hey, third time's the charm. When the most fun piece of the year can also be one of the most charismatic pieces of the year, can also be one of the most competitive pieces of the year, then you know you've got something really special. He's the best, the best fan created, if you want, whatever you would, player created piece that I think has ever been made, and he's absolutely the best piece of 2016. So well done to Team Failboat, and thank you all for Devil Dinosaur.
All right. Jay?
Number 1 is one that I feel like isn't necessarily hyper competitive right now, but I feel like when shifts happen, but even then, he's quite an intimidating figure. And I guess if we're doing names, I feel like he deserves the title of finally done right piece. which is going to be the Killing Joke Chair Joker.
Sure.
Just the anti-persistent strike trade alone that we saw with him in Spider-Man were really, really overdue. Especially because I've noticed a lot of figures that I like tend to be stealthy masterminds, and between improved targeting, hindering, and persistent strike, those characters do not survive. And in addition to just being a really good Joker dial, he has all that flavor of the Killing Joke on him, which just makes him that much better. And while he's arguably overpowered for the character, it's still because the Joker is supposed to be a character that is a force of nature, and that can take on Batman. And given the levels of Batman that we have in this game, I think he was more than warranted. And that sculpt is just so good. The character is that good. He's deserved it for this long. So that Joker.
That Joker.
That Joker. All right. And, guys, I cheated again for number 1.
Yep, so you
but
said.
For the same reason.
Oh, Lord.
For number 5. Every time I use one of these figures, I always seem to bring myself to use the other one. And a lot of people have been complaining about these guys. Some people are really excited that we got new JSA guys. That's right. A little bit of a spoiler alert. And I think I've sent Tom and Mike individual lists at different times that have had in question combinations of 1 or 2 each of these figures, but never alone. And that is a combination of the uncommon Hawkman and the uncommon The Atom, both from Joker's Wild. Now,
Wow.
I think of it as a 1-2 punch of, oh my god, that barely touched my wallet. It comes in at 55 points combined, is capable of charging 1 turn with 3 damage, or just moving and placing a 21 defense in close combat SOB. Or you charge in with the Hawkeye, leave him back, leave the Atom behind to sidestep in safely and attack. Or, any number of times, any number of combinations with these 2 guys for 55 points, you can bring so much damage for such a low cost. And what's better is you can include 2 each of them for a grand total of 110 points of your team. And I've got 4 figures. 2 of them are 21 defense in close combat. All of them are 18 defense at range. 3 damage is the only damage you see on the Hawkman. You start with the 3 damage with Close Combat Expert on the Atom. It's been a combination I have built with about every single team. It has really pigeonholed me lately into the past and Justice Society keywords for a little bit, but that's okay because mass numbers, as much action as I can get out of those mass numbers, I can agree with. It doesn't hurt the budget either. I mean, the price point helps a lot. So we're going to call it the budget number 1.
Nice. Well, there you go.
All right. Very, very awesome lists, guys. And, there's a couple of repeats there. The Alan Scott Green Lantern, the KC Green Lantern. Very reasonable to be in that list. Also, it's odd. I was very close to including him also in the honorable mentions was the Green Lantern from Joker's Wild. I just haven't had enough action with him just yet to solidify that.
And the Joker in the chair was also very nearly an honorable mention for me as well. So a lot of overlapping thought, and of course, who can deny Devil Dinosaur? I mean,
absolutely. But for every good, there's something not so good, and it's Santa's coal list. Nobody likes making this, especially when we have a relatively good year. But these are going to be our.
I absolutely do like making this.
It's one of those lists where it's like you really got to find the insults for these figures. Now, that said, all of these figures aren't necessarily completely useless or completely bad, but these are our least favorites for sure. Each one of us has picked 5 of our least favorite figures from the year. It's probably no guess what my least favorite is, because I think I've ragged on him almost as bad as what should be Tom's number 1, but it turns out isn't, as he alluded to earlier. Spoiler alert, it's not what you think. But that said, before we get into our worst, Jay, were there any stinkers that almost made it to your list?
Didn't really consider honorable mentions of things I hate.
Those would be dishonorable mentions, Jay.
Dishonorable mentions?
Yes. Honorable mentions for, I guess, the whole original Turtle starter.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my god.
I forgot about that one for good reason.
Yeah, good call.
And unfortunately, the second starter turtles weren't much better, but they were passable, so they do not get
They're
as
usable in
dishonorable
comparison.
mention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom, any dishonorable mentions?
Well, I'll get this out of the way right now. My big dishonorable mention is the man, the myth, the legend, Thunderbird. I know you think that he should be on my bottom 5 because we ripped into him a lot. If I'm being honest, I enjoyed making fun of him because I thought it was hilarious that the most effective thing that he can do for your team is to jump in front of a plane, and also just like punching a jet plane is this is so funny. It's like they were trying to embarrass him. So I think that he's one of the funnier figures of the year. But if I'm being honest, he's not one of the 5 just stinkers. So yeah, he's a dishonorable mention only because I think that he's not great. I think that he's embarrassing. They kind of make fun of him and then ask him to die to provide your team with one momentary turn of boost, and they all forget about him and move on. But I don't think that he's actually one of the worst of the year. So he'd be my only dishonorable mention.
All right. My dishonorable mention goes to whoever at WizKids hates Donatello. He's the best!
He is the best. He's the reason I play the piano, which is a weird thing, but there you go.
Yeah. So whoever the Donatello hater is that was only capable of making Electro, let's fight right now. Let's go. Outside. Donatello's the best.
You're going to have to go a long way for that. It's cold
Jersey's
up here right now.
If we got as much snow in Jersey, let's go snowball fight. You and me, whoever.
Yeah, that's true, actually. No, you can toboggan up here to fight Jason if you want.
That said, I'm going to let Jay take the lead on our 5 least favorite figures of 2016. And number 5, Jay.
I guess dishonorable number 5. Not a figure that's bad in its own right, but just is almost a cheap clone of a much, much superior one. And that would be this year's World's Finest Fast Forces Toymaster.
Oh, yeah.
He just fits, but worse in every possible way. Yeah. And they even share the keyword of scientists, so the comparisons are just almost built in. And they're literally the same number of points. And they're both are Fast Forces, and their top tiles does not go in this guy's favor. He's not terrible on his own, but no thanks.
All right. My number 5, not the worst, but most certainly not even close to good. Vertigo. Did you know they made a Vertigo this year, guys?
Oh yeah, I tried my best to forget. Whenever I think about it, I get dizzy.
I get it's got the Mutant Massacre trait. Okay, good, but there's better figures at that point range. I mean, this is a figure, and these words are going to leave my mouth. Not worth the 55 points.
Wow.
I've never found myself I've looked at this figure a lot. I've been like, oh yeah, Vertigo has, you know what, I can find a better incapacitate user than this. Heck, I'd rather use the new Looker that we recently got because you got the mind control for 10 less points and it's got 8 range. It's usable on her. And she also flies, so in worst case, she's a 45-point taxi. Yeah, if they happen to bring a Prime Nighthawk or whatever. So, yeah, Vertigo, never used her, not going to.
Digging what you're preaching. I realized I had another dishonorable mention that I knocked off my list in the last minute, which was the common Green Goblin from the Superior Foes of Spider-Man set.
Yeah.
What a stinker. I mean, he barely didn't make it because, yeah, fine, he's got Perplex, Sidestep, and Enhancement. Sidestep and Enhancement's a nice combination. Perplex is useful. But for the points, I would have expected so much more. And also, for a Green Goblin, I mean, does he have to suck that badly? He's really awful. But he didn't quite make the list. But what did make the list, number 5, is the recipient of the, I think they've misprinted the Point Value Award. And I'm going to share the recipient of the, I think they've misprinted those Point Value
Award. You're going to put him on the screen.
Yeah, that's right. Here he is. His name's Geoforce.
Yeah!
Oh, man. Apparently somebody,
your screen share is not going.
Oh, is it not?
No. Hold on.
What's it showing?
It's you stall. There we go. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so this is Geoforce, and he's awful. Somebody at WizKids obviously wrote his point value down on paper and has a weird little looping 0 that looks like a 6 because this 100-point figure got printed at 160 points, and he's awful. Like, he's not a terrible piece for 100 points, but let's face it, for 160, he ain't worth it. Where's the willpower? Where's anything better on click 6 and 7? Why does he die on click 7? Like, his first click is the only thing that's half decent, and let's be honest, 11 movement, running shot with 7 range psychic blast. You've got my attention. And then I look at the dial, and you've lost my attention. And it's a shame, because he combines a series of things that I love. I love the Outsider's team ability. I love Free Barrier. But I hate pieces that cost 160 points and don't get the job done. And Geoforce doesn't get the job done. So he is my, I think they've misprinted the point value award recipient, and my number 5 worst figure of the year.
Awesome. Incidentally, Tom, I think I hated Geoforce more than you. Because my number 4
oh, wow.
is Geoforce. And the only reason he actually made number 4 is in a sealed game, I would play him. Because the set he's in, he's strong. But once you leave that sealed game, he's in the bin. And he is in the bin for good. You're hoping somebody is collecting, somebody like me is coming along and didn't pull a Geoforce, because I collect everything, right? I get all the figures, and if Geoforce was the one I figure, I'd give you a couple bucks for him. But I pulled him, and he's worthless. So outside of that sealed game, he's going to do you no good. But I did also exclaim, he shows a lot about what's coming forward for the point formula. Be ready to be disappointed with large point figures for a while, guys.
Might have to extend this to the top 10 worst in next year if that continues.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it depends on how many big figures beyond 150 they make. But yeah, so my number 4 was Geoforce.
Good choice.
What's your number 3? No?
My number 4, you mean?
Oh, yeah, you're number 4. Sorry, you're number 4.
Yeah, okay. My number 4 is You Give Yourself a Bad Name award. I'm just going to share first because I like this idea of sharing.
Shame. Click shaming.
He's not bad. Let's just take a look, shall we, at this Batman v Superman 002 Superman. All right, so 135 points. It's pretty bad. This is not a good figure. Maybe he's got some cool traits or SPs. Oh, no. Wait,
no.
I guess they forgot to print them. At least he's indomitable, Geoforce. And yeah, he's a hypersonic super strength character for 1 click. I hope he doesn't take Mystic's damage, or else his attack, damage, movement are all going to go down, and he's going to lose hypersonic speed. This truly is a Superman who is weak against magic, so I guess that maybe it's comic accurate? I don't know. He's awful. He's got shape change in the middle because he's embarrassed by who he is. He wants to disguise himself as somebody else. Because if anybody thinks he's Superman, then he's giving himself a bad name. And the real reason he makes it here to my top 5 worst isn't just the fact that he's a bad dial, but the fact that there are, I counted, if you count distinct starting lines, 26 playable Supermen in the modern age right now. That's just people named Superman. That's not even counting like Superman Red, Superman Blue, Vartox, and a million other like variations on the theme. There are, at that point, if you include all them, there's dozens of playable Supermen. In what world would I ever play this one? He is awful, and he's an embarrassment to his name. Why would you even make a Superman if you can't make him good? And I'm really proud of the 5-star rating that he has here on HC Realms. I don't know who it is that really likes the Superman, but I stand by the fact that this Superman only has shape change because he doesn't want to be seen, and he shouldn't be seen. Pass, and let's go on.
Let me cut you 45 points off of that and give you something better.
Exactly. Oh man, what a shame! What a darn shame.
Jay, you're up, buddy. What's your number 4 of the worst of the year?
I am going to actually impromptu switch around the orders on my list so I can go back to back.
Oh wow!
What is this abomination? Oh, yeah.
They are. I guess they are kind of accurate.
Look at any other.
Because they're so bad.
Everybody remember the Aquaman from this Fast Forces and how damn good he is?
Yep, I do remember that.
And now look at her. Just atrocious. He cut 50% of her cost, maybe I'll look at her again.
Yeah.
As is, oh my god. And she has a trait based on how many tokens she has, but no willpower, so she wants that +2 defense. But then to add insult on top of injury, she gets willpower later. But then she doesn't have reducers, and she has terrible defense, and is... Oh, my God. And if you look here, there's just so many good Wonder Womans that released this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's this one.
Yep.
Such a tragedy.
Not even worth an ID card.
Yeah, they are doing a good job representing that movie. Just some terrible figures.
Oh, I love this part of the list specifically because of how much I get to laugh at things that we didn't like this year. All right.
I think it's me.
Yeah, and it is you, Tom, and it is number 3.
All right. Well, my number 3. I can't think of the best name for this, but this is for a long title. I will call this the you won the tournament? What was your prize award? And here it is. This is 90 points, guys. Woo! Boy, oh boy. Am I ever glad that I won that Civil War event. I took home that cloak and dagger. Maybe I've got some uneven furniture around my apartment that I can use for these guys to hold it up, because I'm sure as heck not going to play them. Oh, they're awful. And we got them almost at exactly the same time as we got some really reasonably good Cloak and Dagger figures in the Superior Foes set. So it was like a double punch. Do you want to get a common and a rare, or do you want to win the prize? Some prize? I can't believe it cost 20 points to create that awful Pog. It's not that they're useless, but they're pretty close. And frankly, if you're going to win a prize, it would be nice if you weren't embarrassed to say what it was. So I don't need to say too much. Cloak and Dagger are a terrible, terrible duo. They're not even a duo, in my opinion. They're just a furniture shim. Stick with the ones from the Superior Foes set.
Well, the Superior Foes ones are almost exactly the same thing, but this is more expensive and infinitely more rare.
90 points. 90 points.
I can't believe this is still one of 3 figures I think I need from the Civil War OP kit. I still have to spend money on this figure. I'm going to feel so much shame when I do that.
I like how you're using the word need. I don't know how much you really need that figure.
Oh, I'm in a huge rush. Oh, look, there's one on eBay. No, they want actual money. That there's $1 in there, not a chance.
Man, what a great prize.
All right, Jay, what's your number 3?
Number 3 is going to also be shared because there's no way anybody remembers this figure. This figure has so many things wrong with it and deserves double honorable mention of how terrible it is because it is a Target exclusive and we are Canadian. When I managed to go to Target, I pulled this figure and I thought, Oh. Yeah, and this figure gets another honorable mention of not forgettable enough because, unfortunately, this figure has still not escaped my brain, and it takes up space in my brain remembering this figure and how much of a tragedy it is. They still haven't gotten Vision right, even at this level of rarity and how cool he is in the movie. And even though he's infinitely better than the last movie one, still... This is just a shame.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, he did almost make my dishonorable mentions, but I had to hate on whoever's hating on Donatello down at WizKids. So
that's fair. I didn't forget about him. You hit that nail right on the head. I completely forgot he existed.
Incidentally, Tom named the 3rd place award very aptly because I also have something from the Civil War OP Finals kit of disaster. It's also what I should acquire to complete my collection. And it should be named the "Hey, we got one already this year, and it was way better than you" award in Ragnarok. Since we're click shaming up in here, let's join the gang here, and I will also screen share this abomination of a look at this. All right. So we got 7 range with charge.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Charge.
We got a pretty deep dial for 120 points. With the 10 attack, it's not terrible. But then, we go back in time and we saw this. Right?
That was worth it.
This was good for an extra 80 points. And always when you consider a robot, you consider something with Justin Safer. And then we saw this, and then we got this. and you know, it's you don't want to charge when you have a 7 range, but you know, this figure is now forced to do that. It's that backwards dial problem that we've had in the past, where I don't mind if that charges in the back and if that side steps in the front because I'm using that range, and then okay, I'm forced to bring it closer. But it's just, this figure just doesn't do it for me. And it's, you know, there's so many more figures I want to put from this OP kit set in there, but one of them's actually doing well, so I can't insult them that poorly. But overall, just Ragnarok didn't feel it for me. And, you know, I didn't like the figure at all, for that matter. So he made number 3 on my list of the bottom 5.
That's pretty sad piece, all right.
All right. And number 2, Jay.
Jay, leader off.
Funnily enough, I also have a figure from the Civil War prizes.
Is it a different one? Like if it's a different one, that's amazing.
One. Okay, so Civil War was an iffy set, right? It had some good figures, it had some bad figures, it had some figures.
Wait, hold on. There was good figures. Wait, I'm giving away too much.
There was a good Punisher, and then there was this one.
Oh,
this
God.
is unfortunate.
I forgot about
Why?
this. Oh, I forgot.
What a trifecta here.
Oh.
Not only is this figure just so bad, but it is just completely unnecessary. Why would you waste a slot on this as opposed to anything else from that storyline? Just, oh my God. And he's just, why would you make the best Punisher ever and the worst in the same set? And in the same year as you made the Punisher van, which is really cool, and all the weapons, and then you have this thing.
Hey, guess who's not driving the Punisher van?
Let's not forget that he could give it incapacitate, guys.
Oh, man. And Tom, it seems that the bottom 5 is the I hate it more than you list. Because my second to worst figure on the list of the bottom 5 is Cloak and Dagger.
Wow.
It made second worst.
That poor Civil War set just got smacked.
You've heard what my least favorite is. I'm pretty sure like great length, but just God.
Oh wow.
Oh, like what did you do to deserve that? Is what I say. All right. But what is your second to worst there, Tom?
All right, my second to worst is also kind of cheating, much like you did last time. I'm going to call this the Bag of Trash Award. Because it's not enough to get one bad figure when you buy a starter set. It's enough to get 4 bad figures when you buy a starter set.
They're so bad.
I've chosen to isolate Raphael here so that we can appreciate what a fine piece of German engineering this is. Look at that flurry with 9 attack to start with.
No offense to our German fans, by the way.
I think they can understand the sarcasm. I like how this has 3 stars. Where do those 3 stars come from? Did someone actually start playing with this set?
I think they want to throw 3 ninja stars into his body.
Yes. It doesn't get any better. I mean, here's Leonardo. He's probably the best with his 6 movement charge. 10 attack precision strike, well defended with that 16D. Like, their defenses are abysmal. Oh, look at this sweet Mikey we've got here. Would you rather sidestep in for some no-range incapacitate, or would you rather take some damage so that you can do no damage, like you do 1 damage on your back dial? You can always perplex it up to 2, then you can break toughness. Then he could damage himself and make the game shorter. Donatello is the only one who might be usable because he's got leap climb and wit. But how far is he leap climbing? Oh, that's right. 6. At least he's got willpower so that he can move twice in a row to go a total of 12 squares. Red Tilly goes farther than that in 1 move, carrying 4 people with her.
Funny story about that starter set. At Worlds, they had a demonstration of like how to play Heroclix thing, and these are the figures they were using. And I'm pretty sure it was some sort of producer style scheme.
yeah. Unless they had a name for it, which is how not to play Heroclix. Those they're pretty bad.
Learn to play with figures you'll never use again.
I will be honest. They've got a nice variety of different powers. They're not overwhelming. They're easy to understand. They're probably not bad as starter figures from a purely technical perspective, but because they're so non-competitive for their point value, they're awful figures to take out into the game past like your very first session. So it seems like their heart was in the right place, but their execution couldn't have been in a wronger place. And so all four of them tie to make up the Bag of Trash Award and the second worst
The hot
of the year.
garbage fire.
I
And
think
Yes.
one of them, I think literally the only use for any of them is that I think the Donatello is the only modern choice to get support for Animal Man. And I think that is literally the only time I've ever looked at those figures.
oh man, Tom repeated exactly what I said when we first reviewed these figures. Do not do anything more than teach somebody to play Heroclix with them, because
Right.
after that they are garbage. There's a board game in there. Play that.
Yeah, do nothing instead.
There's a million other things you can do with those figures that are more important than playing with them. Trust me on that. All right. But taking the lead, Jay, what is the hot garbage fire of the year for Mr. Jay Solomon?
I think this figure gets an interesting distinction in that it's pretty self-explanatory, and the award name is Unclicked to Reclicked. And I think we all know what this figure is already, but this figure is just so bad that it went straight from please make this character to please remake this character. Why do you hate me? And this figure is so bad that even my most casual friends just despise it, and that is Our Man. Come on! Every time you say that it's a decent figure, we're friends a little less, because come on!
This is a figure I like. If I did top 15 pieces of the year.
All he does, so he's a figure that's supposed to be aggressive. He's on a clock. He has an hour of power. So what does he do? He just moseys along. He's not in a rush of any kind. And he's also gets points for being so not comic accurate with that regeneration, because the whole point of the character is that he only has an hour. He doesn't get to just pop another pill and refresh himself and be like, oh, okay, I'm back in the fight. He's very limited. He doesn't have charge. All he does is move adjacent to an opposing character, ask them very nicely to hit him, and then die. That is literally all he does.
5 clicks deep for 25 points. Willpower, super strength creates objects. What a prince!
To be fair, I have said that I'm going to try this figure and try and give him all the benefits possible to try and make him work. I haven't played him yet, but I'm planning to.
He's not good. The comic accuracy hit is a very valid one.
No, we gotten so many good Hulks recently, Supermans, just so many good aggressive figures. It's just been a really fun, a lot of good brawlers, but oh my god.
Yep.
All right. You good there, Jay? You all off your chest?
This figure just needs divine intervention.
All right. Mine, I think I have said a number of times. Then somebody tried to defend it behind my back.
Not so bad.
There is nothing to like about this character. I don't care how hard you try. The Fangarian. My God, what is this?
5 movement charge for anyone.
I got 2 figures I wouldn't put on. You know what? Just pay for a figure with 5 movement charge. Don't pay 30 points to make something not worth having on your team not worth having. Because, you see, for the same number of points where I put Hawkman on my top, the same model gets the worst of the year, because for the same number of points, this doesn't add anything after it's moved the guy in. Once it's there, it does nothing. And even that's only a 3 square limit. You can stay out of that, no problemo, right? With the Hawkman, you still got to deal with him sharing the 18 defense in my combination of figures. There's a number of things that Hawkman does bring to the board. This brings disappointment. What's worse is, and we're going to get into comic accuracy on this level, this is the warrior race of Thangarians. He's carrying a mace. A mace is at least 2 damage. A warrior race with 9 attack? Come on! The only thing that this does that a Thangarian actually does is fly. So
we got one.
We got this clicks, please re-clicks again. Try again with the Thangarians, please. Or put the name of the whatever it is that you thought this actually was or originally decided to dial for on this, because this is not a Thangarian, and this is probably one of the biggest hot garbage fires I've seen for 30 points in the game of Heroclix.
That's fair. That's fair.
All right, Tom.
All right, bring it home. We guys apparently have a bit of a theme going, which is the unclicked, or shall we say, the dishonorable debut theme. And my worst figure of the year is also going to continue that dishonorable debut theme. He wins the award for the worst piece of the year, and also wins the award for the thanks for asking for the last 15 years for us to make this figure. Now take your gosh darn killer moth and shove it up your backside.
Killer moth!
Because this is just I'm a little surprised that there didn't come with a sculpt variant, which was just a middle finger. Because that's the only thing that would be more appropriate than asking for 15 years. Hey, how about a killer moth? And then we get this dumpster fire of a piece. Like, he's awful. Look at that. Look at that sweet starting 9 attack, 2 damage. At least he can use Incapacitate, but he still can't because he's got 9 attack. Yeah, maybe you can use Batman Enemy by carrying somebody, which shortens your running shot movement down to 3 with your solid 5 range. He's got to do it on his own. He's not that he's completely useless, but he's pretty close. Yeah,
he's less useless than the Thangarian.
True, but he's also 2 plus at times more points. And he's got a little bit of dial synchronicity here. The charge and the combat reflexes go together nicely. The running shot and the ESD go together nicely. And what the heck am I doing trying to defend this guy? He's awful. And not only is he awful, but he's an unclicked figure that has been talked about for so long. And after all these years, they finally put it together. And the best they can come up with is a piece that would have been bad in hyper time. So I'm very, very sorry to everyone who was hoping for a killer moth. At least he's as ineffective as a killer moth should be. And now apparently we should all feel ashamed for wanting him. We just want another one. And then and with us, with a bottom with our worst figures of the set, each of them being different, but each of them being from the same set. Thus do we round out the worst figures of 2016.
And even funnier, I don't even think it's going to be everyone's least favorite set of 2016.
No, it's definitely not mine.
Which is actually, we're going to be hitting our favorite and least favorite sets a little later on in the show, but we do have 2 other things that we want to cover just before that. And first one is favorite mechanic. 2016 did introduce quite a few mechanics, such things as Teamability Plus, as we discussed just before the show. Me and Tom were talking about mechanics. We kind of came up with this in the last second. So when I say Teamability Plus, we look at the Sinister Syndicate, the X-Men Teamability, and the JSA Teamability. All got these little bumps with some specific characters using them better than others. As well, we've also seen shifting focus make its appearance with the Superman and the Batman being able to swap around for the figure that you need at the time. We saw Clicks Effects come out this year. Clicks X Effects
There you go.
Show up this year to varying degrees of success. ID cards showed up last year, but we got DC added to the fold this year. We got characters that create pogs instead of undoing duos. We got a new style of duo out of the Power Man and Iron Fist. We got a number of figures that are worth having the dials on the cards for, because sometimes you got to take a look for it. And with all those mechanics out there, we're all each going to pick our favorite mechanics from the year 2016. And mine was very easy for me to choose because it got me to the top 3 in Canadian Nationals this year. It was a shifting focus. The flexibility that came with that Superman with the shifting focus was unbelievable. The fact that I had a Superman who was making my guy super defensive and was super defensive in himself, then making a hypersonic Superman should I need that, or making a super strength charging, oh my gosh, eat damage Superman at the right times as well. The flexibility that the shifting focus mechanic brought to the table for that figure even specifically was amazing. So for myself, shifting focus definitely puts a highlight on the year of new mechanics brought into the game of HeroClix. Tom?
Well, shifting focus probably would be my number one because of everything that you've just said. But I'm going to go with one that was basically tied with it so that I'm not just repeating what you've already said.
Sure.
And I'm going to say that my favorite new mechanic of 2016 was the add X number of points to turn into the prime version mechanic that we saw in Uncanny X-Men.
Yeah.
With all the primes, we saw that mechanic where if you paid a few extra points for the non-prime version of the figure, then you could have the prime on your sideline, and when they would be KO'd, they instead turn into the last click version of the prime. They get one last lease on life, and it's usually, well, in all cases that we've seen so far, it's a slightly upgraded version. So as opposed to just kind of going out like a wet fart at the end, they come out for one last hurrah on the very last click. It's a cool use of the sideline, and I generally like sideline type effects. And I think it's a cool way to theme your primes, because the primes are usually alternate versions of the characters. They're certainly always alternate versions of the sculpts, and they're usually alternate versions of the characters that they share a slot with. And I think that that's an interesting way of integrating them into the game in a more meaningful fashion, along with being a nice way to kind of give you, when you're a few points underbuilt, give you an extra option. So for all those reasons, and just for the fact that I think that it was cleverly created and well executed, I'm going to say the, shall we say, the prime swap mechanic, and I hope we see more of it.
Awesome. All right, Jay.
I guess I have to go with Team Ability Plus, given that one of the team abilities that it is represented, or that uses it, is my favorite team. So, yeah. Having a bunch, I mean, I guess specifically in the JSA's case, because they don't have a ranged person to make them work like that. The benefits that it has are thematically defensive, because they're a very family team, protecting each other and whatnot. And then getting that little bit of advantage is, I guess, makes up somewhat for the problems that you might have to face going against, say, Energy Explosion. So that sort of defensive bump can really help everybody out a little bit. And it also works really well with the villains that have it, although the Batman ones are basically underwhelming. The Superior Foes ones are just so good and fun, and each thematic for the character, and so fun to execute. Although it will probably never happen for Overdrive, even though his is arguably one of the best.
All right.
I also have to mention Overdrive because Tom neglected to.
Overdrive's great.
Yeah.
Top 10 best figures for sure.
All right, cool. We're not going to talk about least favorite mechanics. They're just all so good. There's not really a mechanic that stands out as bad.
Also, I like it. It's not really a mechanic. I like it when they introduce new things to the game in general. So even when they don't go over that well, it's not worth, throwing shade their way, because it's nice when they try things.
Yeah, absolutely. And trying something new is always okay. All right. So next up, and I'm going to let Tom take the lead on this one, but I am going to introduce it. And Tom brought this to the table recently as far as making it a major element of the show once, and that is going to be the favorite map of 2016. Tom, what is your favorite map of 2016?
I guess Jay should probably take the credit for bringing it up, since it was his idea. But
well, I got it from you because you had that whole map thing.
Oh, okay, yeah. What's funny about my favorite map of 2016 is that it may be one of the least interesting maps of 2015. So I don't want, or 16, I should say. So I don't want to seem super lame, but I got to be honest. It's the map that I've had by far the most success with the teams I've played, and that's the Turtles Lair from the much maligned Turtles starter set. And I only
something
really
good
love
did come with it.
Yeah, exactly. I only really love it because there's almost nowhere to hide on that map. There's a few isolated pieces of blocking terrain, but it's you can't use them really for much in the way of protection, and they're close to starting areas and off to the side anyway. There's no elevation changes. It's an indoor map. It's got a little bit of hindering, a little bit of water, and otherwise it's wide open. And to me, it's the best of the wide open maps. I mean, you can't even pull off some of the tricks you can pull off on like the Manhattan Bridge and whatnot. It's as close as we get, I think, at this point in the game, unless I'm missing something, to essentially an empty map. And that's great when you want to play a team that's got massive range or massive swing. And, of course, this year I've had a fair amount of success with teams that are very much built around long-range slingshots. And so when you need a great map for a long-range slingshot, there just isn't a better one, in my opinion, than that one. So, yeah, there's not much going on. It's probably not the most interesting map of the year. It's a contender for the least interesting map of the year. But because it's been so effective and it's been a linchpin map for me in a lot of games, as Jason can attest, then I'm going to have to go with that one.
All right. Jay.
Unfortunately, my number one map isn't exactly a fun map for both players involved in playing on it, but it is one that I probably played more than any other map ever.
Does it rhyme with Planny the Crete?
That was so forced. Yes, it is Danny the Street, and thank you, WizKids, for making a silly Grant Morrison monstrosity creation. It really is just it's fun every turn to see how Danny the Street is making you dance according to his whims, and you can play. It's planning for it is definitely required, except for when WizKids banned it. Yeah. But when I was able to play it, I got some great mileage out of it playing the Quinja, which didn't really care much about that map, as well as the fact that a lot of those characters ignored elevated terrain. But it's just a nice little map, and couldn't really think of anything off the top of my head that really just is silly as far as maps go. So that was a fun little map.
Mm-hmm. Cool. My map forces play of the game of Heroclix, because except for one unfortunate figure who is unfortunately also a victim of this map choice, which is always one of my three. And I say this because at Rock World Cup, I was up against Tom in the top 32. And I turned to Tom and I said, you know what, Tom? Both our teams can sit here and smash each other in the middle, or we can play Heroclix. And it is the WizKids office. It is close enough that it forces strategic maneuvering. It limits a lot of the fire-out cannon strategies that do exist in the game right now. And it's unfortunate that of the oversight that it really nerfs the heck out of the Brainiac Skull Ship, because it does get played every so often, and I do feel bad watching my opponent go, I can't put this anywhere. I'm like, yeah, I know, that's why I chose the map, but it's also a really cool map in general, as well as one of those brand new premium maps, and I love the material on them, and I've loved filming on them. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing as much in the future, but overall, I like the quality of the map. I like what we see out of the map, and there's enough hindering terrain if you have a stealthy character. There's enough walls to hide behind without getting cannoned on turn one, and it does force a lot of strategy, which is why I came to the game of Heroclix in the first place, with strategy. So WizKids Office, just for everything that it brings in those elements, is the reason is the map I chose for map of the year. Great. All right. So now we get into it. Best and least favorite sets of 2000, or favorite sets and least favorite sets of 2016. Now, I'm just going to go over the sets that were available for the year 2016, and those were World's Finest, the Batman vs Superman movie set, Captain America: Civil War movie set, the TMNT Series 1, Uncanny X-Men, the Civil War OP set, Superior Foes of Spider-Man, TMNT Series 2, Joker's Wild. So, out of those, what, Tom,
yes,
is your favorite? Actually, we're going to go Jay, because I think I started you on something.
Yeah,
recently. I started you on the maps. So, Jay, what is your favorite set of 2016?
This set has gotten a lot of anger from me, but just overall, despite the fact that it is one of the worst sets for sealed and draft I've ever seen, there are just so many good figures in it, as are demonstrated by my, as well as my personal tastes. And some of the best chases we've had since I've been playing this game. That is World's Finest. If you're talking the Constructed Bomb, wonderful set. Sealed, not so much, but just there's so many good figures in it, and I cannot go without giving it the credit that it deserves in that respect.
Okay, cool. I have to be honest, I cheated again.
It's both turtle sets.
It is both turtle sets.
I knew it.
It is. Those sets have reinvigorated my love of the Ninja Turtles to the point where I have been catching up on the IDW series. I watched the 2011 cartoon. I went back and watched Back in the Sewers just to check to see if I was just jaded at the time. Turns out I was. Overall, it was reinvigorated a love I already had with the Ninja Turtles. It reminded me of how great the characters in Ninja Turtles are. And just overall, I really like the figures in the set, and I love that they're playable. You know, I don't feel guilty, but I also don't feel stupid for bringing them. They're just overall a lot of fun. We've got some really cool con exclusives out of the Ninja Turtle stuff. We got some really cool figures in the set. The chase sets, although the first set seemed a little off-center, the second set made up for it with some really off-the-wall choices for the chases. And just in general, we've got so many choices of the 4 turtles themselves. We've got, I think it's like a total of 6 different versions of each of the turtles. And then we got enough versions of the foot and enough versions of different characters in there. They've been really using all the properties and all the availability that they have to their advantage. And I've liked it so far. And I'm really looking forward to that they've been showed up recently. Spacesuit Turtles and the Back in the Sewers Turtles showing up in the next set. Woo boy! Turtles in space, ladies and gentlemen. Really looking forward to that. But yeah, the turtle sets for theme and function, just overall, I've really fallen in love with. And the first thing I always go to when I'm building a new team is turtles. Turtles go first. And I'm really happy that the sets exist. All right, Tom, what's your favorite set of 2016?
Well, it should be Uncanny X-Men. And I say that for a few different reasons. I'm a big X-Men fan. I'm more of a Marvel guy than a DC guy, certainly as far as my reading is concerned. And because, as I said earlier, you know, comic books got us in the door here, then I've always leaned more towards Marvel than DC and when the sets come out, because I have more of a connection to those characters. And UXM is one of the best sets we've had in a long time, and the first time we've seen a lot of my favorite figures in a long time, and yet the more I thought about it, the more I went over it, the more I realized that the set that has been the best to me and has just included some of the best stuff, as Jay already said, was World's Finest. It's not the best set for Sealed, I completely agree, but it introduced shifting focus, which is such a fantastic mechanic. The chases were perfectly chosen and perfectly executed to the point where I was much more excited about the idea of Age of Apocalypse chases than Kingdom Come chases, but in practice, the Kingdom Come chases knocked it out of the park. I love the fact that they're all standard powers with a couple traits and stuff like that, that they have both small point support dials as well as big point hammer smash face tiles. And also, back to World's Finest, we're talking about the fact that we've got the Metal Men, fantastic fun sub-theme with Alloy, who's great fun to play and just splinter into all kinds of little guys that run around. A bunch of different isolated, interesting pieces. That's where Night Lantern, who I've already mentioned, is one of my favorite pieces of the whole year, came from. So all in all, World's Finest. Oh, and I shouldn't probably go without mentioning Mary Marvel, who was on the team that helped me to win the ROC Canadian Nationals, as well as generally doing well for me in sealed events and just events in general. So all in all, I've gotten more out of World's Finest, not just because it's the first set that came out this year, but also because it's one of the most consistent, one of the most just well-crafted, for-constructed, as noted, sets that we've seen in a very long time. And even though Uncanny X-Men is closer to my heart, World's Finest is closer to the map when I sit down. And I can't deny that even though I'm a Marvel guy, this is for the first time the best set of the year that I can remember is a DC set, and it was a darn good one.
All right. Awesome stories behind that. All right, I think we're going to be unanimous on this one, though.
Yeah.
I have a deep feeling on this one.
I don't know. Jay's a wild card sometimes.
Because he hasn't mentioned it, and I know you and me talked before the show about it. And the biggest, we're going to least favorite sets, so that's why I've already got the negative air about me. And I wanted to like this set because it was a brand new idea. It was really cool. I really liked a lot of the idea about it, but then they made this silly thing where everything had to be a battle royale, which made no sense. And then the second month was a team battle royale, but you were still prized like a battle royale, which also made no sense.
Yeah.
The set is a Civil War OP set. And my God, what a hot garbage fire!
I'm in complete agreement. It's the most disappointing set of the year for me. As I said, it gave me Speed Freak, which is great. And there are pieces in it that I like. Don't get me wrong. It's not all bad. But it's a lot of bad, certainly. And I just the way the actual event was run was a different thing, which is also bad. But the set itself just gave me very little that I want to build with. And really just a whole lot of characters I've seen before in better versions, or characters that I haven't seen before, and now I'm wishing for more interesting versions in the future.
All right. Jay?
I'm actually not concurring with you guys on this one.
Haha, I told you.
You think there's something worse than the Civil War movie OP set?
I wouldn't say worse as much as just disappointing, which is almost worse.
Disappointing her?
Because for me... Pardon?
Disappointing her?
We're making
More
up
disappointing
words.
or
Yeah, okay.
So the first set this year was World's Finest, and the last was this set. And it was interesting because they were kind of mirrored. World's Finest, some of the highlights, I guess, my favorite figures from this set were all Justice Society. One of them being Zatara, which, of course, Tom has some enjoyment and love for, naturally. And then this set had that as a sub-theme, which could not be more exciting. The name of the set is The Joker's Wild, which is just so silly.
Wow.
And so, also, a character that I really like. And yet, when it came out, just so much disappointment in this set. There were some highlights, but overall, there's just the dramatic shift of excited to just soul-shatteringly disappointed with some of these figures. It's going to be so sad. And there was just too much missing from the set that could have been in it. There was just a lot of really garbage dials, and although there were some good ones, it did not make up for the fact that, for the most part, just sadness. Maybe not so much sadness as just disappointment in all this stuff being made. And also one of the worst chase themes I've ever seen. So
yeah, true, and poorly executed. Unevenly executed.
I feel bad for anybody who pulled a Bizarro Aquaman. That is for sure.
All right. So that said, those are our least favorite sets. 2 out of 3 chose Civil War. None of you chose TMNT, so you can all still be on the show.
They weren't of great personal interest to me, but they were certainly not bad sets.
Yeah, there's so much fun in them, and when you're sitting there humming the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme in 3 different renditions, because you've been watching cartoons again, and you feel like a kid again, and then you read the IDW cartoon, which is definitely not for kids. Holy smokes, is that comic not for kids? Do not let kids read that comic. Oh, man, unless you're in the room there reading it with them, and then you'll shut it yourself. Trust me on that. That said, it has been, like, as I said, a great 2016 as far as Heroclix play and just the general enjoyment of the game, I think. But I do want to, of course, kind of cap off our recap of the year with our personal favorite or personal highlights of the year. What was our biggest moments of the year? What was the best, our favorite memory of playing Heroclix in the year 2016? And Tom, you can take a lead on it.
Well, there have been a lot of highlights this year, I have to say. This has been one of them, hardly. This has been by far and away the most successful year I've had as far as competitive play is concerned. And there are any number of ways that I could answer the question of what's my favorite memory that would all be equally viable. But the one that stands out the most to me was Worlds. And in a way, Worlds was not by any stretch the most successful of the major events that I went to. In fact, it's probably arguably the least successful. I went to U.S. Nationals and nearly qualified for the finals, but didn't. And then I didn't get through the Seal qualifiers to get into the Worlds qualifiers. So the best thing that we did was our top 8 performance with Team Sorry.
Sorry.
But it was just the best because it was so much fun to take a road trip with like-minded friends and nerds down to the biggest Heroclix event of the year. And I mean, obviously, the Rock is the mecca of competitive Heroclix, and that was also a fantastic time. I guess part of what made the trip to Worlds so great is it was a road trip. I love road trips. We had a lot of fun stories arising from staying in the murder room.
I think my feet are still moist from the carpet.
Oh, God, it was so gross. Like getting no sleep and practicing on the bed the night before and stuff. There's that stuff that people talk about all the time, and we got a chance to live it. In a way, the Rock Worlds was far more well run, and it would be a close second, I should say. Those are the two big ones for me as far as traveling, and those are by far my two highlights of the year. Worlds just stands out to me because I guess it's the first time we'd ever really done it, especially doing the whole staying in a hotel for several days, having some greasy breakfast, and making our way for just an all-day Heroclixing super event. Our first time doing the team event thing at all, and that moment. The moment where we were sure we weren't in the top 8, and we got in at 8th, just getting in by the skin of our teeth.
We were cheering and screaming and jumping on each other.
We all started to. It was like when you win the Stanley Cup. We were all like mobbing each other and stuff. Everyone else knew they were in, so they just kind of nodded understandingly when they announced it. I mean, we just lost ourselves, and it was great. So Worlds was a fantastic experience, but honestly, that may be the best memory of the year. But I can't imagine a year that could produce more positive memories and great times than this one, as far as Heroclix is concerned. It's really been a special one for me. I'd like to thank you both for being a big part of it all throughout, and thank everybody for who's been part of the show and part of the community, because this has been a fantastic, fantastic year for that community and for my engagement with it.
All right. Jay.
I'm going to have to mirror Tom. Unfortunately, not be original, despite the fact that I'm wearing my Rock World shirt as we speak, because it is one of the most comfortable shirts that I own.
So's my goddamn Kevin shirt.
Nobody's won with Jack Frost yet, right? Because I just recently went back and watched a video, and I might have to eat that shirt if anybody wins with Jack Frost. I believe alcohol was a part of that decision. Also, bad information, but I still rolled with the original information and just changed names when necessary. Anyway, go ahead, Jay.
This year was I wouldn't say it was the best year for cons overall, but the cons that were released at Worlds, or at least essentially at Worlds as opposed to one con, included Ace the Bat-Handed Rocket and Grit, which are some of my favorites of this year, although they did not make it into the mentions. And getting to win those in person as opposed to being a sad Canadian who doesn't get convention exclusives was nice. It was my first time. See a lot of people I don't normally get to see and meet some people. A lot of Battle Royales because I performed poorly. And playing Team Worlds was also fun, despite the fact that my team pulled unbelievably poorly because somehow we made it into day 2. I don't know how, but between 12 packs, we got Common Prime, 1 Common Prime, and 1 SR. And yet we somehow managed to build out of that, and how, I don't know. But it was still so much fun, just considering how good of a set X-Men was. And just getting to be there and seeing all the figures they were putting out, and the whole experience was just so great. I'm looking forward to doing it again.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
Personally, and this was a hard memory to actually come up with, as far as specific memory, and I can't come up with a specific memory because so many great memories did come from this year, but not around specific events, but the people at specific events. More specifically, our fans, our Married with Clicks fans, who took the time to come up to me, chit-chat with me, talk clicks with me, talk about the show, thank me for the show, just in general, we're very pleasant, very happy. I got no negative, I didn't get anybody swearing at me in person. Overall, the fans in general, just meeting all of you, as many of you guys as I did in person, was such a fantastic experience. And part of it is, it's that microcosm of the world where I feel like a bit of a celebrity. And it does get a little overwhelming at times, not gonna lie, but it's still just it's great to just meet so many friendly people. All you guys, we all love Heroclix. It's what we're all here to do. It's what we're all here to play, and it's such. Everybody had their feedback. Everybody had great ideas. Some of it moved on even, and we've shifted some things on the show to kind of add to that. it was a pleasure to meet a lot of really great players in person. You know, a lot of these champs that we hear names of off in the distance, some of them I haven't had a chance to meet in person. I'm now really good, close personal friends with. And overall, it's been such a great, positive thing to experience for myself. And I hope that a lot of the fans who have had the pleasure of meeting me, or displeasure, or whatever it was, meeting me in person, share that, you know? And hopefully, like, as I said in the recent video, the new job is going to be taxing on me. I'm probably not going to get a chance to come out to as many tournaments as I can this coming year. I'm going to do my best to come what I can the 2017. But it was a pleasure to meet and get out there into that. My first plane ride of my life at 33, part of it ended up in one of those great experiences where I got to meet a lot of great Heroclix players, and that was on my trip to Atlanta for the Rock World Cup. And overall, just I got no bad memories from the thing, from the entire event. We have funny stories involving blankets and moist floors in our bedroom or in our hotel room. We got, you know, how many drunken things I got into on one day of Rock World Cup, followed by other days of the Rock World Cup. I got up in the mischief.
Team Vaseline.
And I wasn't on the live the whole time. But overall, it's been a great year in general, just meeting all you guys in person. And I hope to one day get out there again. My fingers are crossed. If I can, things are less scary than people complain about. But I'm pretty sure this is the equivalent of going offshore to the oil rigs as far as time I'm going to have to myself. And I do have to spend a lot of my free time with my family. So I'm not leaving the game. By no means. I'm still a big Heroclix fan. And every chance I get, I'm going to be on the Metal Lab. Every chance I get, I'm going to film whatever I can for the show. But I do have to spend a lot more time with my family when I do get those free hours of my day. And it was great to, you know, if this is the year that one great thing unfortunately leads to me not being able to experience another great thing again, I'm glad that the great thing did happen this year and the fact that I was able to meet everybody out in person.
Absolutely.
And I'll give you guys a second to dry your eyes. Because I was cutting onions in the back.
Oh, that's sweet. It really is a wonderful thing to be able to have such a passion for such a nice little world filled with such nice people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've gone back recently into playing some Magic the Gathering, and every time I'm at a tournament that isn't a Heroclix tournament, I'm reminded why I play Heroclix. God, you people are great. Oh,
true,
man,
yeah.
are you people good? Oh, all right. But that said, if there's nothing else to add from you guys, it's time to enter questions from our fans.
Let's.
All right. And first in line, Mr. Thomas Kusterin. This is on the Facebook first. If you guys are watching live, go ahead and add your questions to the chat. Just put in capital letters the word question before your question so that we can get a handle on that. And it's easy for me to copy paste or read them and just kind of line them up as best I can. All right. But Thomas Kusterin goes on to say, if you had to build a list that could include only one of the following, would you prioritize? Perplex, Outwit, or Probability Control. As a clarification, you would have to choose one of those abilities, and Figures in your force could not have or use either of the other two options. Personally, I'd go with Probability Control. Perplex is great to make it easier to hit, but you can't perplex away a critical miss. And it works on both sides, really. So you get your own bonuses, and you can shift away attacks. Outwit, while it's great for countering the power, you just don't get the longevity or the use you get out of Probability Control and Perplex. Again, you can up your defenses, but again, if you miss, you're still stuck with it, right? So I think Probability Control giving you that extra chance at it, I feel like goes a long way. Tom?
I'm going to agree with you, but with the caveat that the direction the game is going is a direction in which Outwit is increasingly useful. There are fewer and fewer outside sources of powers and abilities, and more is reliant on what you've actually got on the dial. So I agree that probability control is going to be my number one, but ask me in a year, and Outwit may be outpacing it.
All right. Jay?
Probability control, because if you don't hit things, nothing's going to happen. And like Jason said, Perplex does not help when you see 2 1s on your dice and sadness.
All right. Next up, Matt Wallace. One of another set of that players I was telling about stories. I got a chance to meet him at the Rock World Cup. What's up, guys? So I was curious if y'all have a combination of figures from the Joker's Wild that you really like for competitive or just for fun. I wanted to try to use I'm wanting to try something out using both of the super rare Jokers personally, and maybe use a 55-point Rennet Tilly and a full Pandora's box just to see how it goes. As always, you guys are awesome, and hope the show continues to be great going forward.
Well, you've already mentioned it.
I was going to say, Rennet Tilly along with the Hawkman and Adam are a really great combination of things to use. Tom?
Well, I mean, the 2 Jokers are the first one that pops out. If the question specifically is combination of figures, I completely agree. I would also say just Green Lantern and just about any JSA member. But the 2 Jokers are the ones that really crop out to me right off the bat. And beyond that, I guess I'd have to think about it a little more. Nothing else. There are lots of other things I want to do with individual figures from the set, but if we're talking combo, that's the combo I like the best.
Hey, Tom, if you add Green Lantern to my combo, it's still only 90 points.
Yeah, I know. It's great. That's what they're great.
Jay?
Hey, you know what's better than 1 Green Lantern? 2 Green Lanterns. It reminds me of when I played Blackout, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty cool figure, but then they made him for half the cost. But if he's only half the cost, why not double up?
So now I get 2 blocks of barrier for free.
Such a good figure.
Yeah.
Terrible for the character, such a good piece, though.
Yeah. All right. Chris Stockhouse.
Hey.
Wait, hold on. I got it here, and I'm going to have to pass it off to one of you guys.
That's true. I'll give it to Mike. He's the host.
Yeah, so... slamming the stamp.
Nice.
I'm going to get an ink pad for that, I swear, one day. That's going to be the day I hand it off to Mike. It's like, I don't want to lose it. But Chris, you're in review show, eh? Oh, we threw in an A on there, eh?
Hey!
So how about I put a stamp on some of the end-of-the-year awards? And he's got his own awards for us, so I'm really...
Awesome.
Oh, this is awesome. All right. Most traveled award goes to Jay. I think other than maybe the Majestic Skies, no one's traveled more for Heroclix than him this year.
I think that might be true. Well,
that is true, and I appreciate the acknowledgement. I'm trying.
Oh, good job.
The Great Team Idea Award goes to Tom. I was proud to copy some of your team ideas and have faced against your teams even when you weren't piloting them.
That's just the best feeling.
My dice rolls got yelled at. It got me yelled at because I was using that team. It was embarrassing.
Yeah,
It's my favorite.
Funnily enough, both of my games against Chris Stockhouse involved Tom net decking. The first time was him playing the Mary Marvel team in Michigan, and the second time, which was also the round 1, was me net decking the Devil Dinosaur team. It was so good.
It's a great team. It's fun team. So much fun to play too.
All right. The I Win with Faust to show everyone how broken he is award goes to Mike. It's an interesting concept, but I don't think WizKids is noticing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree on both those caps.
Yep. Mine almost feels... I don't know if it's a jab or not. The Best Canadian at 2016 Canadian Nationals Award goes to Jason. Patricia was also right there, but she also joined us in the States, so I think this award solely belongs to Jason. I also got 3rd, and she got 4th.
Yep.
Though I think if we played off against each other, she would have won because she was using Coriander, and, oh, man. That figure.
Yes, you are representing the Canadians well.
Yep. I kept us in the top 4, guys. I did what I could. Though that is a drop from the previous year because Kenny did beat a Canadian when he won. All right. So it goes on. It was a fun year to look back on, I'm sure. I asked a lot of thought-provoking questions during this year's Meta Labs episodes, and I do thank you for those, Chris. Thank you for the stamp, even. The phrase became real. And more importantly, I got to meet everyone in person this year and played against everyone except Mike this year. I'm sure you're doing your best of everything 2016 already, but here are a couple questions I would like to hear your answers for if they weren't talked about already. Favorite venue you travel? Oh, we'll go in the orders and we'll just drop them on you guys. So actually, I'll give them all to you so you guys got some time to think. Favorite venue you traveled to this year? Favorite Heroclix opponent from this past year? The piece you faced against the most in tournament play, or at least it seemed like it, and your favorite LE from this year. I'm going to go take the lead on the favorite venue you traveled to this year, and it's actually the one I got a chance to meet you at, Chris, Eternal Games. I cannot believe Eternal Games ran a Rock Super Qualifier that was heavily it had a lot of people in it, but at the same time ran on the Magic the Gathering Kaladesh release weekend, which was also heavily attended. That's the word I was looking for, heavily attended. I mean, and they had space. We weren't bumping into Magic players. It was crowded, but we weren't bumping into each other crowded. It was not on the level of a convention, and I really respect a venue that's able to operate, able to run, and be successful like that. I really do enjoy playing in a venue that can be that big and do that much and be that great for gamers in general. So yeah, Eternal Games goes as my favorite venue to have traveled to. Tom?
Yeah, I agree, actually. You pretty much nailed it. It's well run. I like the fact that it's big and it's filled with comic book art, and that you can park conveniently. I mean, I know these are fairly banal things, but I mean, hey, big, easy to park, and close proximity to food are all big pluses as far as I'm concerned. Plus, just great people. Amazing turnout, and lots of good people. So.
Is it a Del Taco in the parking lot, or?
No, there is a Del Taco in the parking lot.
Okay.
There's a Timmy's down the road, and there's, I think, a Taco Bell across the street as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Jay?
I will also concur with Eternal Games.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, Eternal Games!
All
things
around.
mentioned,
Where we all met Chris Tacos, in fact.
all things mentioned previously, aesthetically, as Tom said, and also for staying-wise, it's not even a 5-minute drive from the closest hotel, which is very convenient.
And ladies and gentlemen, they get a little bit of a plug because they're so awesome. That's Eternal Games, located in Hoover, 26051 Hoover Road, Warren, Michigan. Go there, man. It's a great place. Lots of room to play. They have a good collection of games, too, and all kinds of clicks, Magic Gathering, board games, all kinds of stuff. I think we still ended up walking out spending a couple $100 just in board games alone there while we were there. Although, I mean, it was 5 of your American dollars, so... It's a little bad right now, right? You know how it is. All right. So favorite HeroClix opponent from this last year. And Chris, we shared that moment at Rock World Cup where we looked left, we looked right, and said, thank God we're playing against each other. Because right there I was reminded how bad it can get when it gets intense. And people just got to remember it is still just a game, guys. I mean, it's cool that it's competitive, but dial it back just a little sometimes. I mean, come on. But yeah, my games with Chris were nothing but enjoyable, though I do have to cross my arms at you for yelling at my dice rolls. I warned you how bad those things were, and I predicted them myself. I called every bad roll in that game. So you cannot be angry at me, young sir. Tom?
It's kind of an absurd question because there are so many, and like it really, you name anybody and it feels like you're kicking yourself for not naming so many others. So I don't know what to say. Very close second is going to be Trevor Vassar, because every time I face Trevor, then it's a nail biter of an experience, whether he comes out on top or I come out on top.
Those are so hard to watch.
If I see him while I'm at a tournament, then I know I'm going to face him. That's one of the reasons why he makes the list, is that if he's at a tournament, then we're going to get paired together one way or another. And of course, he's just a great guy. I think that, and the other one I would give a nod to is another cheat, which is Team Failboat, because I had so much fun facing all 3 members of them at the Michigan Super Q, including Derek in the finals and Tim in the top 8, and they were all so much fun. Like that, they were all playing Devil Dinosaur, and they were all rocking it hard because they were so proud of their creation. I was playing Devil Dinosaur. We were having so much fun laughing about it. The final frames of my match with Derek was just a ridiculous exercise in dice rolling and wondering when things were going to change.
I literally watched a craps game watching that game.
Yeah, it really was.
Competitive craps.
So much fun all around. Everybody having a great time. And it was just, I loved the joy of playing the guys who designed that figure with that figure, playing that figure against that figure, and the fun and the laughs that were had. So, I don't know. But where do you start? Everybody. So many good people.
Jay?
I'm going to give number 2 honorable mention also to Chris Stockhouse, because both those games were thankfully beginning of the tournament, so it wasn't as intense. We were both playing good teams both times. They both ended up being very good, fun, strategic games.
Mm-hmm.
It was good times. I'm going to give... I only faced him once, but I'm going to say Kevin Afruz, because that game at the Cup was probably the closest I've ever had. Just that leading a 6 to win. Thankfully, that was recorded, and I've gone over that match, and it was just, oh my god, so intense. But the last turn then that they ran actually made that game really interesting, because like you can see in the video, you're able to take the time at the end to just count out the points and see who's actually winning and losing to determine how to strategically play the game. And then after that game, we roomed together in Atlanta, and we both played with Tom in the Team Worlds event, and a lot of fun was
Vaseline!
had. So great opponent and great teammate.
Greasing it up and sliding it in there.
Vaseline is in my way. Or was that gasoline?
I think it's Vaseline. You're talking about whatchamacallit.
Is it moist?
Moist, right? Yeah. Moist. I'm pretty sure it's Vaseline.
Everybody's favorite word.
Oh, yeah. Still,
right.
Nice topical reference, by the way.
Yeah. The song suddenly just got caught in my head.
Shades of 1996.
Oh, God. Some of our fans were born then. All right. What piece do you think you faced against the most in tournament play?
Mr. Mix's Pedling. That one's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Jay?
Con Loki, that little bastard. Even though most of the times I played against him were when I designed the team myself.
Exactly.
But
you have
still.
to by yourself.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, like, every time I played Mike with that figure, he used it twice. I played against him twice. So that's 4 times I played against Con Loki. But I've played against not as many Quinn Jets because I was playing it for a while. Mary Marvels. I'm trying to do the math here. Like, Nick Fury. There it is.
I've played
including ID cards, versions on the board. Like, I played against 2 on the board once.
That's fair.
I played against 3 of them in the first limited of 2016. I played against him in every single version with ID cards. It's Nick Fury. I played against him so many times. It's ridiculous. To this point, I'm like, even when I'm not playing him, it's just like, okay, so can I get 6 clicks off of him? Not worth my attention. All right, let's carry on with my day. It's one and done for me with Nick Fury these days. That's how it goes. So, yeah, Nick Fury is definitely the guy I'm sick of playing against. I'm not sick of, but like I've played against this year. Favorite LE from this year? I'm gonna dip into oh, there we go. Tom goes with the Doc Ock. Look at that.
Yeah.
Tom, you're getting as aggro as I can get sometimes, man. Jay?
That's a really hard one because that technically includes prize or monthly prize LEs as well as cons.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's such a difficult one. But I guess, despite, as I mentioned, Ray Palmer, Rocket and Groot are just so fun together. Such a beautiful sculpt. The first World's exclusive that I acquired, and just such a great figure. Yeah, Rocket and Groot.
Turtle Band. I love me some turtles. Yeah, Turtle Band is my favorite. It's Turtle Enabler. It's pretty tough and dial. Once you get the right turtle piloting it, it's an Empower machine. It's got a lot of capabilities, and I really like it. And I can't believe if I go back to the day when Batman first came out as a set, like the Batman set that first introduced vehicles, I hated vehicles back then. Now I'm in love with a couple of them because I don't feel as dirty playing them because they fixed them. They fixed them good. All right. Thanks, Chris. That was an excellent addition to the show.
Yeah, I agree. Good
Chris,
addition.
you know what? Best questions of the year. Chris Stockhouse.
Yes.
Right there. I'm putting that right there. The award. Best.
Yes. The unofficial fifth man.
That's my personal notebook. I need that for my new job. I've been doing research. You know what's great about the video game industry is research is video games. All right. Mike Bockley, what is the one figure you wish you'd gotten to play more often this year? Raphael, Michelangelo, Donatello, Leonardo. Tom?
Wish that I could play more of this year?
Yeah. You wish you had gotten to play. Like, which figure have you, let's say, you've come up with builds and it's like, not good enough, but it always kind of comes up on a regular basis.
Sloth.
I was going to answer for you if you didn't say it. Jay?
I guess this just off the top of my head, I was trying to build with it recently because I feel like he could work really well in this current ID card environment. He's a really good figure. The Mystical Realm is just still a really strong element in Heroclix. And like Double Dinosaur, just a great Team Worlds figure, and that would be Sebastian Faust.
Yeah, cool. I always regret not being able to play a champ figure more often. I have been able to play two quite often this year because they work together. So it's been pretty great. All right, so now we move into the chat. Very active today, and one person here, Mr. Joe Fixit, has got quite a few questions for us. Some of them are rules, so we'll go over that one.
You missed the Facebook one.
What's that? Did I miss the Facebook one? Which one?
Yeah, you missed Chris Smotherman's Facebook one.
Oh, okay.
Who? What? Oh, Chris Smotherman. Oh, my
Chris
goodness.
Smotherman.
Oh, my goodness. How could I miss Mr. Chris Smotherman?
No
Another
kidding.
one of our common contributors to the show. I apologize, Chris. Whew, good catch, Jay. Thank you. In your professional opinion, has Heroclix hit rock bottom with regards to point values? Do you think the downward trend will continue, or do you think it will be like this for a couple years and go back up? I think we're going to see in the future, my personal opinion, we're going to see something more towards once they get the opinion polls or the idea, the marketing research, and hear a lot of people talk about it, we'll probably trend back towards Uncanny X-Men and Superior Foes of Spider-Man before we see anything massively overhauled or massively drastic. I don't think it'll trend up, but I think it will trend to a level, I hope. And I think Uncanny X-Men, Superior Foes of Spider-Man have that magic level that we're going to see, personal opinion. Tom?
I more or less agree. I don't know if it's at rock bottom, but I really don't think it's going to go much lower.
We're not going to see sets full of 10, 15 points, that's for sure.
Yeah, to all intents and purposes, I think it's about as low as it's going to go. But I mean, again, it's not a professional opinion, it's just speculation. But I would speculate that it will level out at this point, but it's not going to drop lower.
Yeah. Jay?
I don't think it can go lower outside of you would need to remake Lee and Harper, and you would need to make figures that cost negative points. Although, it was interesting that we kind of got that this year, where we got the shark mechanic, where you could make your own figure cheaper, but with the trade-off of giving your opponent one. So that might be a thing we see going forward. I don't know. I'm speculating. But I definitely don't think we're going to... We're definitely not... I don't feel like we're going to see big temples as much anymore, especially considering that we haven't really gotten any in a while. They've kind of gotten rid of duos as well, or at least the duo attack mechanic. So those figures are also going to be on the cheaper side, despite being two figures. So I don't feel like it's going to trend back up to where it was.
Yeah. If you actually look at the trends that do exist, the past 4 sets? The past 3 sets, because it would be Superior Foes of Spider-Man. I'm talking big sets, not including the Gravity Feeds that include Turtles, but if you want to include those last 5 sets, I think, 4 or 5, the highest point figure has been 200 points, and if you don't include World's Finest, for sure. Let me pull up HC Realm so that I can actually get those right proper. So if you include the 2 Ninja Turtle sets, Joker's Wild, Superior Foes of Spider-Man, heck, Civil War, Uncanny X-Men, the highest point figure, even if you include the first Turtle set, Heck, I think even if you include the movie sets, it's in the 200-point range, and the Target exclusive Superman is 225. So that's like your peak point value.
Yeah, Phoenix Prime I think would be the most of all, but in that grouping. But
on that one. There we go.
You're right. Absolutely, the top cost figures have been tending down. It also is a question of time scale. Give it long enough, and I'm sure we'll get back up again. But
I just as long as it's not. Like, I don't want to be at the level of this first Superman set where we had a 300-point common.
Yeah, but he had multiple start point lines. At least it had that. I mean, to me, Hammer of Thor was one of the worst for that, where you didn't have – it was before multiple point lines, and there were a lot of high-point characters in that set.
Absolutely, yeah. So, if it trends up, keep it under control again, or more control to a certain degree. But at the same time, don't – like – the thing that they do have to trend down and account for is the trending down of resources, because we're not seeing. I mean, I don't think we have an OP event listed for next year. Usually, we know by now, wouldn't we? And if we don't know that, we don't know any OP events around the corner. For all we know, we could be done with resources very soon, with the exception of a certain few, right? Mm-hmm. So. If we're trending away from resources, we have to trend down on points in order to get individually focused characters for things like Perplex, Outwit, Probability Control. I just hope that we don't have to go back to the pit crew system again, because then it becomes, okay, I have to have these 4 powers. Where are my 4 characters that can do it? As long as there's variety in those 4 characters that can do it, and those characters can also multitask, I'd be okay with it. But they have to be very careful if they trend away from resources to kind of manage how that pit crew system turns out. Anyway, I'm over-speculating.
Sorry.
I went beyond the ask, I think. But now we're into the YouTube questions. Starting first, Joe Fixit has about 4 or 5 questions here. And the first one is a rules question, Jay. Keep your ears open. If the LE North Star uses hypersonic knockback ability on someone with Mastermind, do they take the damage, or can they use Mastermind before being knocked back? So basically, I think what they're asking is, when you transfer the damage, does a rock knockback come with it?
The knockback. Well, it's based on the hit character. So I would say that this effect is separate.
Okay.
Because this is a separate effect, not based on damage. It's just based on who he hit. So I would imagine that this would.
But knockback
possibly
is still
be different.
Okay. I wouldn't know
without having all the effects quoted off the top of my head. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, give me a second. I'll pull up North Star then. In the meantime, he does go on to say, how do you kill Jakeem Thunder? 8 damage. Tom?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, what can I say? Pulse wave. Yeah, lots of damage. A fair amount of pulse wave. And I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's that hard to kill, really. I mean, he can't. If he's picking defense powers. Yeah, if he's picking defense powers, then he's not necessarily being as aggressive, in which case you can hopefully outplay him and just ping him down. Otherwise, pack your pulse wave, and then it doesn't matter what he chooses.
All right.
It's interesting to see that he's being limited, because I think he's much better constructed for reasons.
Well, yeah, you don't have to give up your – if you choose to write – assuming Jakeem Thunder has somebody equipped to him, such as a Brainiac or an Eclipso, you're no longer – limited in that defense power thing. So you can choose 2 powers at will, and none of them have to be a defense power. Because the general rule with Jakeem Thunder as he's played is defense power. But if you have a character that you're choosing a decent defense power from, you don't need to waste that choice.
Yeah. Well, that plus other stuff, like Pandora's Box goes very well with him, and other stuff that is more constructed realm. But having to pick a defense power every time does severely limit him.
Yeah. All right. He does go on next. What masks do you like with Chameleon? Sunfire is always one of my go-tos, and so far I've used Chameleon once. My masks were Sunfire, Dum Dum Dugan, and something else. But I think Renatilli would replace that just in case you needed an additional source of prop. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't thought of a third one. Sunfire is always my first go-to on that one. I know Tom would choose.
I do like Ragdoll. A great deal.
There he is.
I think it's fair to say that Bizarre Green Arrow is a pretty viable choice these days.
Good call. Think of that.
And other than that, well, there's so many. I mean, Peggy Carter is the other classic.
Mm-hmm.
Those are
As long as you don't have a prime on your team, she's great. Yeah. Jay?
I think the new Riddler could be a pretty decent one, considering how he was built. You can get 3 outwits out of the one character if you build right. Peggy is also the obvious choice. Mystique, I think, is an obvious and thematic choice for him. And I wrote an article on Majestics a while back, and I can't remember who number 3 would be, but there's a fair amount of good ones. I guess just to say, I'll say the rare Lois Lane as the last one, just because she's so good.
Also, Our Man.
Yeah. Our Man's a great idea. He's perfect. I mean, how could you ask for a better choice other than to watch Jay's face just do this?
Well, what if you need a light object and there's only walls around?
I'm really sad that Tom doesn't use Facebook because I can't go and unfriend him.
You know what? He does have a Facebook. He just doesn't use it. So what you do is you friend that Facebook, but then you block or unfriend that Facebook. He'll never notice, but you'll still have done it.
It'll be the principal to play around.
Yeah. So, and he also goes to ask, what were your teams at Rock World Cup? I believe we answered that months ago when we were actually there. But very briefly, I was Devil Dinosaur, 2 Ultron drones, Jean Grey, a Round Table, a Thug, and Mephisto at 45 points on my team. Tom was using his past theme team, which included Zatara, Devil Dinosaur, Jean Grey, the Fast Forces Jean Grey, War Wheel, and a Round Table.
Mm-hmm.
And Jay,
I think I brought a bunch of options, but I don't remember what I was. I know I didn't pack the Quinjet. I really can't remember what I was gonna be using for.
Yeah, I forgot that.
I can't remember either.
I forgot you didn't make day 3, so it wouldn't be fresh in your mind. I apologize for that, Jay. Apologize.
No problem.
All right. And so yeah, that covers that one. Jay, were you able to suss out how North Star and Mastermind are going to work together?
I don't know because it's late at night and it's a weird special power.
Yeah, we don't know the answer to that one. We're going to have to double check the win. Win. Is it win.wizkids.com/bb? Gets you straight to the rules forum. Go to Heroclix Rules. Try to use the search, see if North Star is in there, and see if the interactions with Mastermind are in there. All right. Next up, KJ Foster. What is your top 2 T pieces from the past modern sets? I think we got that covered. We good?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right. I blame my roles. What is the deal with Wonder Woman's iconic ability being support? I feel like there's a lot with that ability, but healing is not what stands out to me. There's a thing with Wonder Woman where she's always kind of a healing character. Like even if you look at the movie, the first thing she does is revive or wake up. What's his name? Damn, I'm a Wonder Woman fan. I feel bad now. I'm an old man moment here.
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
The guy that Chris Pine is playing.
Oh yeah, him.
Steve Trevor.
Steve Trevor, thank you. It's a name that you kind of like. My name's Steve Trevor. It's always kind of funny. But yeah, she revives Steve Trevor. She's known for kind of being nurturing, mothering almost, like a kind of a mother figure, and is often seen helping characters kind of come back.
There's also there's the purple ray of rejuvenation, right? So that's also a thing.
Yep, there's that too. So there's a number of reasons that she gets support, and it is kind of it's iconic to the character, along with the super strength and charge she's often leading forward with, and some attempt at reenacting the bracers, which is a very difficult power. I got to give them credit. They've done their best, but it's not easy to make those bracers feel Wonder Woman-y. You know what I mean? So, all right. The Rugged Dookie, who's also Aaron Cantu of 2 Clicks from KO. I believe we still have the link down there. Check them out.
Check it out, just the best.
Yeah, they are great. I was actually just listening to this week's show, and I haven't laughed as hard at the podcast outside of the Kevin Afruz's Critical Clicks until I listened to this week's episode. There's a joke involving a Canadian singer that was quite hilarious, involving Aaron's co-host. And I laughed and got a lot of looks at my office, but everybody's stuck up there right now. Can't wait till I start in the game industry, man. Everybody's funny there. Right? They're all fun?
Hopefully.
No, they're boring. They're not as fun as you think. All right.
What's he got to say?
Oh, sorry. He asked, how long did it take you to beat Sun and Moon? I don't have it yet. Amber's still playing it. My daughter's still playing it. I think Mike Payne has it. I don't know if he started playing it yet. Either of you guys playing Pokemon Sun and Moon?
Not my bag, man.
Jay?
I haven't had Nintendo handheld since the
okay, so
DS.
no.
Yeah.
None of us have beat it yet, so we'll go ongoing.
Yeah. It could be a while.
It might be a bit more for some of us. Might be less long for others. We'll see. All right. The Alpha Strike asked what our least favorite set of the year was. They came in late. Okay. Two out of 3 said the Civil War OP kit, and Jay said Joker's Wild. Eric Wadsworth, I believe he's also one of the members of the Alpha Strike Clicks, or one of the Clicks casts out there. He says, how can I be a guest appearance on the Metal Lab? Well, I used to be able to tell you that we're going to use the Patreon program, but I can't use that anymore because I can't really promise anything. I'm going to talk with our patrons that do exist right now and come up with some ideas to restructure that. Originally, I said I was going to shut it down. Probably not going to shut it down. I'm probably going to restructure it, but just definitely less incentivized on the higher end as far as things are concerned. But you know what? Now I'm thinking about it. Everybody's leaving me alone on the 26th. So Eric, please email me. Because right now it's just me and Patrick Iboko. I wouldn't mind some extra bodies to lead through on the 26th. Something we call Boxing Day here in Canada. Others don't. I recognize and think we go out and pack on the gloves and beat the crap out of each other. Some of us do. If you've ever seen Black Friday shoppings, it's very similar. It's just a day after Christmas. All right. And that, here we go. Eric Wadsworth also goes on to ask, between the 3 of you, who has the most extensive collection of Heroclix? That would be me.
Oh, yeah. Question.
We also, what we don't tell you on the show is that my nickname is actually the Library. And some guys have some overdue fines that they've got to pay. Mike's not here for me to give him a stern look about my Adam ID card. But Tom, I think you still have some stuff overdue with me.
Do I?
I actually still have something from you.
Yeah, because you gave me a Black Panther ID card last time we saw each other. But there's something you've been using that I'm like, am I going to see this before it's no longer modern?
You'll see everything you borrow.
I'm trying to remember. There's something that you've been using of mine a lot that I've just recently stopped using. I can't remember what it is, and I want to scold you about it, but I can't really remember, so I don't get to scold you. Yeah. Well, I got it written down somewhere, I'm sure. I've had to start writing it down. You guys borrow so much of my stuff.
We appreciate it.
I know you do. I mean, if I'm not going to win with it, somebody should, right?
Yeah, some of that.
I'll take what I get and go in the top numbers so that I still stay relevant and my name shows up somewhere, but I'm not going to
win. Nonsense.
Yeah, have a conversation with my dice. Tom, you were there. You saw them on the finals of Rock Canada Cup.
No, I was there, all right.
I just need to roll a 3 or higher on my no. That's going to be a 2. Okay, that's cool. No, that's fine. It's when you're able to predict bad probability is when you should start to get concerned about your rods with probability. And I'm at that point right now. And the probability is now starting to transfer to other people, as I described in my last week's tournament, where 8 out of 10 shape change rolls were made against me. That's not probability. Tom, it's my Wonder Man ID card.
Yeah. I got it.
Is that still going to be modern when I get it back?
You'll get the card.
Tell you what, guys, I'll just give you a key to my place when I start the new job because you're going to have to come in anyway and get your stuff. All right. Next up, KJ Foster. Why is this show the best?
Good question.
I got nothing.
Low standards.
So.
Yeah,
I like that.
Low basis of comparison.
Yeah, Tom's got a good. I got nothing. It's great. It might be me. It might be. I think it's Tom's sultry voice because people used to hate us before we hired Tom, and then
I think it's Jay, the consistent one. Jay, always here when we need him.
I love getting Jay's squinty eye look when you catch that.
It's accurate.
Yeah. All right. But without further ado, that's all we got for this week because we do eventually have to get to our own jobs tomorrow and get our lives together, as it were. But I do want to thank our sponsors, hcrealms.com. Check them out. Check out the shop. And use the coupon code MARRIED for 10% off your purchase. As well, want to thank MajesticCCG.com. Check out the Apex Insiders tab on that site. Sign up, $3 a month gets you access to some of the great brains of the Heroclix world. And KJ Foster's being all like lovey-dovey at me in the chat. It's getting me all misty. He's like, I'm gonna miss you. It's like, I'm not gonna be gone. It's gonna be part-time.
Yeah, we can't get rid of you that easily. Believe me, we've tried.
I mean, they can't get rid of me. How else are they going to get their Heroclix to play in tournaments?
Where else are we going to get a Wonder Man ID card besides just not giving it back?
Exactly. Easy. I know where. No, I don't know where you live. Oh no.
I do.
All right.
I can give you the address.
On that note, guys, as always, thank you very much for watching. It's been a great year, Heroclix. It's been a great year seeing you guys in person all over the place. I still have a couple more weeks before I do start the new job, so you do get to see me a couple more weeks here. I'll be consistent here until January 9th is where I'm pretty much a ghost. But I may even still be on that episode depending on how the first day of work goes. So all that said and done, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thank Tom and Jay for a great year. We'll get some of Mike's ideas on the less clicks-related stuff of more of the favorite moments next week, hopefully. But in the meantime, always remember, when you're playing that game, getting out there to the big tournaments, nothing better than practice
makes
your
team
better.
Oh, there's a screen share. I just got to let it go. Come on. Come on. Come on, screen share. Black screen. I got black screen from Tom. This is horrible. Tom, I'm pretty sure there it is. Devil Dinosaur, ladies and gentlemen.
Better, ladies and gentlemen. Better.
Have a good night, everyone.